We are live.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us on a Sunday afternoon to listen to our GATS information session. So first, I'll go ahead and I'll introduce myself. I'm Kritika Bharati. I'm the GATS treasurer as well as the tutoring program lead. So let me go over the agenda for today. First, we'll start with giving an overview of the GATS tutoring program. After that, Mr. Vatsan Ramprakash will be joining us to talk about the Presidential Award for GATS volunteers. And then Mr. Sendil Karpana will be joining us to kickstart the information session. Following him will be the actual presentation, college applications and paths to top universities. And finally, we'll have Mr. Swaminathan join us to give us the thank you note. Okay, so those of you who are not familiar with GATS, just want to tell you what it means. GATS is nothing but Greater Atlanta Tamil Sangam. And this is an organization that is 40 plus years old. And this organization was initially formed to promote Tamil culture. And over the years, it was not just that. We have expanded our wings and we do various things like education, culture, cultural programs, and then medical field related stuff, sports, charity, and all that. And among all these great initiatives, one such thing is GATS tutoring. And I take great privilege in saying that I have seeded this program. So what this GATS tutoring is nothing but a tutoring program where high school students teach the elementary and middle school students. And the pictures that you see here, they are both from our in-person as well as online sessions. So let me go ahead and share with you a few more information. So this slide basically talks about the background information of this program. So as you can see, we started this program back in 2019. And at that point of time, it was an in-person session. And then due to COVID, in August 2020, we moved to a virtual tutoring session. And right now we have 90 plus members in our program. And the way we operate is our regular tutoring takes place on 2 days, which is on Saturdays and Thursdays. And this year we have also added ad hoc classes, which means you don't have to wait for the normal tutoring days to get your questions answered or to prepare for a test. You can request tutoring anytime. And if we have a mentor available, we always offer them tutoring at any given day. And the best part about this tutoring is it's absolutely free for all children. So it doesn't matter whether you're residing in Atlanta or wherever. We have a couple of folks, like they are from North Carolina and some other place, I just forgot, but it's not limited to Atlanta residents. So it's open for everyone. And the other initiatives that we do is one such thing is the information session that you are viewing right now. So we conduct information sessions once in every 4 months. So we kind of talk and decide like what are the key topics that students might find helpful. And then we have our information subcommittee within our GATS tutoring. So they come up with the topics and then we arrange for these presentations. And during this time, we partner with industry experts. So for today, we have people from AIM High Academy and Mathis Academy. So those industry experts will be sharing their expertise with all of you. And moving along, other than this, our other initiatives are, we recently started our SAT coaching and completed our first batch. So that is also run 2 days per week. And next, we have also been working on youth web, committee pages. So we already have a GATS website, but for the youth committee, we don't have specific web pages. So we want to create a one-stop shop where you can go and see what are all the initiatives that GATS has for the youth, and you can sign up wherever you can chime in. Okay, so I just want to go over quick stats. So if you see, like in 2019, we were doing like 2 days. And then in 2020, towards the end, we added ad hoc tutoring along with the 2 days that we were initially doing. And now in this year, we are working almost 4 days a week plus our ad hoc tutoring. So just want to let you know, all our mentors, we typically run another parallel school is what I would say. And then this slide basically shows the number of students, like our progress over the last 2.5 years. So in 2019, we had close to 25 students, and then we progressed to 74 last year, and then now we are close to 94. So hopefully we'll reach our 100th student very soon. And then when we talk about the hours, so in 2019, we worked close to 400 hours, and then in 2020, 1,500, and this is 2,000. And the hours here you see is the cumulative work of all the mentors in our program. And behind these great numbers and stats is our wonderful talented mentors of 2021. And here we don't have pictures of all the mentors. Some of them have gone to colleges, so this is just the current year, and we do not have the people from who are all the new joiners. But basically, each and every student here are very, very dedicated to this program. And the reason this program is successfully growing is because of all these students. So sometimes I even have to remind them like, hey, this is not like a full-time job. Just go and start concentrating on your studies is what I have to say. So that much of dedication, and they also prepare ahead of time before each tutoring session. And I just want to show you the next slide. So these are some of the feedback from our parents. And these are not like even formal feedback. We have our WhatsApp group. We generally don't ask for ask them like give us feedback or something. But even then, they always share feedback for us. I'm not going to go through each and every one of them, but as you can see, they all have great things to say about our mentors. And you can go back to this recorded session, and if you want, you can go through all these comments and see. So moving along, talking about the benefits of joining the GATS tutoring program is, when it comes to the mentor side, it's mainly like you get the satisfaction of giving back to the community. And then obviously you get volunteer hours for your service. And the latest great benefit that we are going to have is the Presidential Award through GATS. And this is something Mr. Watson will be talking in a few minutes. So I won't elaborate more on that. So coming to the mentee side, as you can see here, it is unlimited one-on-one tutoring, and of course it's quality education. So when you normally, many of you might be spending outside, like, I wouldn't say the private tutors, I wouldn't go on that side. They are really awesome and all, but we try to give free education. So if you would like, please join us and give us a try. And now I would like to invite Mr. Watson Ramprakash to talk about the President's Volunteer Service Award.
Awesome. We can go to the next slide.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is the service award.
Yeah, 1 minute. You can see. Yeah.
Awesome. So this is a new initiative that GATS is going forward with. It's the President's Volunteer Service Award. We're hoping that it's going to incentivize students of all age above 5 years old to basically, any volunteering you're going to be doing through us, through GATS, we will recognize you for your efforts. And at the end of it, it is a high honor. It's a civil award. It's going to have the president's signature on it with your name on it, and you'll even get a medal, the presidential seal and everything. Looks pretty neat. And just a few things. So you can volunteer through your school, church, your temple, mosque, whatever, your nonprofit orgs. And you can actually count some of those hours. If you tell GATS about those hours that you received through those organizations, we can actually provide you awards on their behalf as well. So just a few things. Like I said, you do have to be over 5 years old. And then one other thing is that you do have to be a citizen or a green card holder. I know that's a little bit unfortunate for a lot of you because, a lot of us are on visas. I was on a visa. I totally understand. And oftentimes these kids are the ones who are putting in the most effort. And we realize that they need to be recognized for their efforts too. So we'll be in touch with y'all on that shortly. Other than that, as you can see, that table has it lined up. It just kind of incentivizes you to reach different benchmarks. And that's pretty much it. All I have for now. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Vatsan. Yeah, so now that you heard all about GATS tutoring, in case you guys want to reach us, you can feel free to email us in this address, gats-tutoring@gmail. GA-tamilsangam.org. One of our students will get in touch with you and direct you for the next steps. And just one more thing before I proceed. So the tutoring is done only by the high schoolers. This is not open for middle schoolers. So by that doesn't mean that the high schoolers come here only for volunteering. They can also get peer help because many of our students, they get peer help for AP subjects. So please keep that also in mind. Yeah, with this, I'll go ahead and invite Mr. Sendil Karpana. He's our GATS Youth Committee Chair. So he'll be talking about the other initiatives in GATS for youth, and he'll be, starting the information session. Welcome, Sendil.
Thanks, Kritika. So that was amazing achievement from the tutoring section. So I was really impressed to see this data here. To everyone, as you know, that GATS is an organization, as Kritika already talked much about the complete details about GATS. So I'm not going to go much into that. So what I want to share more is that so that we have amazing lineup today. So they will be sharing all the information regarding what you need to do to get into college and what you need, what all information you would need to get prepared for that. So GATS, as you see that one, we are doing on the tutoring side for the where you can achieve your volunteering hours and all. So as you all know, most of the parents and most of the students already know that there are 4 areas that you need to concentrate to get into good college. So one is your grades, your grade point average, and the second one is your SAT, ACT score. Third one is on your charity and volunteering. And the fourth one is your leadership skills. So GATS is very much involved in providing opportunity in all these 4 areas. So the tutoring helps you to get your grades up for your regular school. So that's Kritika has done amazing work on that, and we are getting amazing support from our GATS President Swaminathan. And on the as far as the SAT, ACT, already GATS conducted a session, first round of the session. So that will be beneficial for most of our students. And the third one is that the volunteering. So GATS has been providing volunteering opportunity for the kids and the leadership opportunity for the kids. So what we are trying to do with this is that with the Presidential Volunteer Services Award. So this is something is going to culminate all your volunteering into one recognizable format. So this certificate you can add into your college resume. So everybody knows when you are a Gold Services Award awardee, right, from the President of the United States. So that gives you kind of recognition, so that the college you apply, it's almost like an Eagle Scout of the voluntary world, right? So it tells you that what you have done, how you have done, so what you achieved. So all your volunteering, you can put all of that into one way where everybody can easily read and understand that what you're doing, what you've done in the volunteering. So similarly, GATS is providing a lot of opportunity for the high schoolers, especially sophomores and juniors and seniors in the area of leading these committees. So one is tutoring is one area. Similarly, we have technology committee, we have education subcommittee, we have a committee in the charity, sports. So all this area we have committees where we train our youths so that they can add that into their resume when they're getting into the college. So I'm not going to stress this too much, but all this information you will be getting this additional what all is needed when our distinguished speakers going to talk about it. With that, I will invite you, our first speakers, to start. And you can, with that, you can see that all this opportunity that GATS provides, how that fits into your college application and how it helps you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sendil. I'm sure like kids understand the importance of volunteering and they'll be joining us more. So thank you so much for talking about all the initiatives that GATS has for youth. Yeah, so moving to our next slide.
One second, Kritika. Sorry, I forgot to mention. So there is, for the middle schooler to entering into high schooler, so GATS has organized the session. The details will be following up, all the detail, the flyer, many of me have already seen. So that there is another information session that helps for the middle schooler to get how to, the expectations and what to see and what to expect in the high school. So that session is very soon to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandhya. Yeah, so now we'll get started on to our main presentation. I'm sure this is a much awaited presentation. So before we begin, I just want to let you guys know, although if we run a little overtime, also don't worry about it. The session is being recorded. You can always come back and watch it. And there is a lot of information that is lined up today. It will be literally like drinking out of a fire hose. But don't worry about it. Just sit back and relax. The presentation will be shared with everyone. And also, like we'll be sharing a feedback form. Like basically, a forms link will be shared in our chat as well as in the YouTube comment section. If you have any questions, please go ahead and fill the information in there. You can choose to be anonymous as well. You don't have to enter your personal details. But if you have any feedback or questions, please use that form. If we can get to your questions in time, we'll make sure we put everything in a Google Doc and share it on our Facebook page so that you all can access it. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and introduce our moderators. The moderators for today are Adi Krish, Sanjana, Veerapaneni, and Siddharth Srinivasan. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to them to introduce themselves and carry the session forward. Thank you.
Hello there, my name is Adi Krish. I'm currently a 10th grader at Lambert High School, and I'm an active member of the admin team, information sessions team, and the co-lead of the public relations team. I work as a mentor at the GATS tutoring program, and I also helped start the SAT tutoring service with Naveen and Visha.
Hello everyone, my name is Sanjana Virpaneni and I'm currently a junior at Lambert High School. I'm also part of the intake committee and a mentor at the GATS tutoring program. Once again, thank you all for attending this session today, and I'll be one of your MCs for today's session.
Hi, I'm Srinivasan. I'm a sophomore at Denmark High School. I'm part of the admin team, co-lead of public relations, and part of the communications team. I'll also be one of your moderators for this session. So now that introductions are over, let's introduce the presenters from GATS tutoring program who will be talking about college applications.
Okay, Sid, are you going to share your screen?
I'll share it, yeah.
Okay.
So here are our members from GATS tutoring who will be talking about college applications. And here are our guest speakers from top universities who will be talking about their paths to their respective colleges.
So moving along, here are the presentations we have lined up for today. For the first half of our session, Niharika and Sanskriti are going to be talking about college applications and their journey to college, and then GPA and high school transcript.
Nikita and Anuditi will be talking about the differences between SAT and ACT.
Samika will provide us information about dream, safety, and fit colleges, as well as in-state and out-of-state colleges.
Renisha will inform us about the differences between early action and regular decision.
After we hear from our GATS tutoring program members, we will have additional guest speakers ranging from experienced college students such as Maya Chande and Pranav Atimulu and Shruti Verma, and industry experts such as Mr. Vatsan Raprakash, Ms. Jenny Kim, and Mr. Ramulati.
And like Kritika Aunty or Ms. sorry. As she already stated before, we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions throughout the session or anyone's presentations, please submit them through either the forms or through the Zoom chat, and we will be answering them at the end. If we don't get to them, like stated before, we will collect them all in a big Google Doc and make sure to post them after the session is over.
So let's begin. We'll start off with Pravlika from UGA, who'll be talking about college admissions and journey.
Wait, can I share my scenes?
Yeah, Pravlika, you want to share your screen?
Oh, sorry. 1 second.
Would you like us to present?
1 second. I think I got it. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Pravalika, and I am a third-year student at UGA pursuing a bachelor's in biological engineering and a certificate in informatics. So today I will be sharing some information about the college applications and the college application journey and answer some of the big questions that everyone has when it comes to college applications. So starting out with the first big question, when should we apply? The basic answer to this question is the start of your senior year in high school or 12th grade. You should start considering which college you want to apply at the start of your senior year and consider if you want to do an early decision or a regular decision. Early decision deadlines are in the second week of October or early November. Students who apply to colleges for the early decision deadline will hear back from the college sooner, possibly by December or January. The regular decision deadlines are in December or early January, and students will hear back from the colleges by mid-March or early April. Regardless of when you apply to the colleges, you will have until May to make your decision about which college you want to attend. Now, the second biggest question is, where should I find my application? There are three main ways you can apply to colleges. The first way is through the Common Application, which is accepted by over 900 colleges. A lot of colleges outside of the US also accept the Common Application. The application has several pages of forms that asks for various details of personal information to high school academics. The Common Application is quite similar to the second approach we can use, which is a coalition application. If your desired college does not accept either the coalition or the Common Application, another way to find their process is by going to the college's admissions website and gathering information about application details, deadlines, fees, and any additional documents that they require. Here's the main page of the Common App, where you could start your application by clicking on Start Application over here, or making an account and saving your progress as you go, so you don't have to do it in one sitting. Here's the main page of the coalition application, and you can follow the arrow over here by making your account and saving your progress. The college application has a lot of information that you have to fill out. We're going to go over some of the important areas of the application so that it is easier for you to understand when you do so. There are four main areas that we're going to focus on. The first area is personal information. The application will ask you about your name, your contact information, and details about your family, your education. The second biggest area is about your high school academics and transcripts. Make sure to contact your high school counselor about how to submit your transcript and how to get all the details to your desired college before the deadline. The application will also ask you to fill out other information about your classes, your GPA, and your extracurriculars. The third area is standardized test scores. Applicants must submit their SAT and ACT test scores, as well as AP and IB test scores in 2 different ways. They have to manually enter the scores in the application and send it externally through College Board if it's SAT and AP scores, through the ACT website for ACT scores. If you are wondering about IB test scores, they will automatically be sent once you take the exam and the scores are released. The last area to consider is college letters of recommendations. The college applications will ask to submit 2 to 3 letters of recommendations from your high school teachers. Make sure to ask your teachers ahead of time so that they have time to observe you and get to know you, so that they know what to write in their letter and what they want the college admissions people to see in you. Some applications will also ask to attach a senior profile that is approved by your counselor. In order to do so, make sure to fill it out beforehand and send it to your counselor and ask if they can approve it. Try to get any additional documents in your hands at least a week or 2 before you're preparing to submit your application. Now, the biggest criteria in the college application are your college essays. College essays are completely different from the essays that you write in your English class or your history class. The college essay is nothing but a personal statement that is broad and open-minded. It's a way to share your unique experiences and challenges. This is a way for admissions office to see who you really are and what you value, what is more important to you. They want to see if you're a good fit for their college, or if you will make a impact in their community or in the campus. When you're writing your college essays, try to make yourself show in your writing. They want to really get to know you, and this is the only way that they can really know you, because your application is just basic information and it doesn't tell them anything but numbers and like a bunch of names. So your college essay is going to be a really big impact on the way admissions sees you. On that note, I hope I have answered your questions regarding the college application journey. And if you have any other questions or want more information regarding application, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pravalika, for informing us about college admissions and more specifically explaining what both the Coalition and the Common App is, and also the college essay process.
Next, we'll have Niharika and Sanskriti, who are both active members within the GATS tutoring program. They will talk about GPA and percentile.
Hello, everyone. My name is Niharika Reddy, and I'm a sophomore at Alliance Academy, and I'm a mentor at the GATS tutoring program, and I'm a part of the information session committee.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sanskriti Joshi, and I'm a sophomore at Alliance Academy, and I volunteer as a mentor in the GATS program and am part of the PR committee.
Today, we'll be talking about high school transcripts as well as percentile. The first few things that we'll go over in high school transcripts are student information, GPA, attendance, and courses per school.
We're also going to be talking about standardized testing, credit summary, comments, and frequently asked questions.
The first section will be student information. The contents of this section include your student number, your birthday, your state ID, diploma type, diploma date, grade, and gender. As you can see, this student doesn't have a diploma type or a diploma date written in, and that's because this student is in 10th grade and has not graduated yet. But when you do, this spot will be filled up by your high school counselors, and you do not need to worry about this.
So the GPA summary in this section, you're going to see your cumulative GPA, which is your weighted score, meaning that it's also going to include your AP scores, your class rank, and your percentile. So your class rank is basically the rank that you are going to be on amongst your peers. And your percentile is basically just the percent form of where you stand. So this person has an 81.82 percentile, meaning that they're in the top 19% in their class.
The next section will be attendance. And in this section, it will just say how many school days were in each year, how many days you were absent, and how many days you were tardy for each school that you went to. There's not much a student can do for this section, and you should just let your high school counselor worry about this.
Okay, so courses per school. In this section, you're going to see all the courses that you've taken that give you a high school credit. And all of these courses are just going to be from any class, any grade that you've taken it in. So this person has taken a course from Forsyth's Virtual. They've taken courses throughout middle school and in high school. And basically, this section is just going to have the course name, the grade that you got, and the credit you're going to receive for that specific course.
The next section will be standardized testing. And in this section, you will see tests that are given by the state, and all the list of the exams that you have taken. Mostly these will be EOCs, like this student, and it'll just tell them your score and your day, and a little note for the college applications, and you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, credit summary. So in order to graduate high school, you need to have a certain amount of credits. And in Georgia, we need to have at least 23 credits to graduate. And all these credits are going to be made up from the classes that you take. And basically in world language, CTAE, which is your career pathway classes, fine arts, and electives, you're going to need at least 7 credits. For math, you're going to need 4 credits, social sciences, 4 credits, science, 3 credits, English 4, and health and physical education 1 credit. And all of these credits are just going to make up to 23. Now, by the end of the year, by the end of the time you graduate high school, you're going to have more than 23, and that is totally fine. But the minimum amount you need is just 23.
Another thing to note is that Alliance Academy doesn't have fine arts, and that's completely fine. Just make sure you get your credits from world language, CTAE, and your elective courses. The next section will be comments. And this section just explains what a letter version of a grade is for your school. This will vary from school to school, and it's not a big deal. And just you don't have to do anything for this section. So just also let your high school counselor worry about this section as well.
Okay, frequently asked questions. What do colleges look for on a college transcript? Colleges will mainly look at your GPA, which is going to be your weighted and unweighted scores, your courses that you've taken throughout high school, and the credits that you received for these courses.
So what do colleges like to see on your transcript? They like to see that you have a high GPA, a good class rank, and a good percentile to show that you're a rigorous student and that you stand out.
If I've attended multiple schools, do I need a transcript for each school? So most of the time, your past school is going to move all the information onto your current transcript. However, if they haven't done it, then you can always send in both the transcripts to your college.
Can colleges see whether I dropped a course? So most high schools have a period of time where you can drop a course. It's usually the first month of the school. And if you drop a course during that time, then colleges will not see it and it will be erased from your academic history. However, if you drop the course after that time period, colleges will be able to see that and it will raise a little suspicion. So try not to do that and make sure that you have a good reason for why you're dropping the class.
Why is my AP exam score not listed on my transcript? So in order to graduate high school, you do not need to take the AP exam, which is why your scores that you've gotten for the AP exam is not going to be listed on your transcript. So when you're applying for colleges and stuff, you're going to have to send in your transcript and your AP exam separately.
Next, we'll be talking about percentile. We'll have the overview of percentile and some frequently asked questions for percentile.
Okay, the overview of percentile. Percentile is basically just the level that you're being compared on based amongst your fellow peers. And it's dependent on how well you're doing in your courses and just your overall GPA. And so if you want to have a good percentile, you want to make sure that you have high grades and you're doing good in all your classes. Now, if you don't have a good percentile, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get into a good college. It just means that you're going to have to prove that you're a good candidate for that specific college through other ways.
Here are some frequently asked questions about percentile. So how does percentile affect you? With this, colleges can see how you're standing out from your peers and how much work you're putting in, like how much rigor do you have and how much you're actually invested in your education.
How does percentile affect college application? Like I said before, a better percentile is just going to make you stick out more during the college to the college admission team. So you just want to have a good percentile for that.
What is considered a good percentile? Usually being in the top 25% of your class look good for you, and colleges like to see that.
And where can you find your percentile? So you can find your percentile on your transcript in the GPA summary section, or you can always ask your teachers and your counselors about it if you have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niharika and Sanskriti, for explaining the significance of students' high school transcripts, more specifically GPA and percentile, and their role in college application process. We will now move on to Anudipti and Nikita, who are both heavily involved in various committees as well as the admin team, and work almost as pillars of the GATS tutoring program. They will tell us about the breakdown of the SAT and ACT.
Join Bantamua.
If you could please share your screens. Yes, thank you.
Hi, I'm Nikita. I'm a sophomore at South Forsyth High School. I'm in admin team and I'm also in various other committees and GATS. I like to help out and tutor kids. It's really fun.
Hi, I'm Anudipti. I'm a sophomore at Alliance Academy. I'm also a tutor in the GATS tutoring program and a part of the admin team and other subcommittees as well.
Today, we'll be talking about the SAT and the ACT.
In this presentation, we will cover what is the SAT and ACT, the contents of both tests, the scorings, how to study, and a final comparison between the two standardized tests.
First, what is the SAT and the ACT? The SAT and the ACT are the most popular standardized tests given for college admissions. Colleges look at these test scores to give admissions to potential candidates. That means getting a good score on these tests can increase your chance of getting into a good college of your choice. For more details, you can visit the College Board website where they have more information about the ACT and the SAT. And you are also able to take multiple attempts until you get the score you like for both tests.
Contents of the SAT and ACT. The SAT and ACT both include English and math sections that measure a student's knowledge. In all, there are 5 topics: reading, writing and language, math with no calculator, math with calculator, and there is a science section on the ACT plus optional essays on both tests.
Connection to college. These scores are a factor that colleges use to determine your admissions. In your college application, there's also be a section where you can enter these scores. Once you get the score you want, there's an option where you can send your scores in to the colleges you want to apply for.
Sending scores to colleges. Most colleges require their applicants to send official score reports directly from College Board. They do not accept copies of online score reports or score report labels on your transcript. Another way is you can ask College Board to send your score reports to the colleges before or after you get your score.
Let's talk about some differences. For the SAT, there's a math section with 800 points, reading section with 400 points, writing and language section with 400 points, and an optional essay, which is unfortunately canceled until the year 2023. For the math section, content like algebra, problem solving, data analysis will be covered in the reading section, evidence-based reading and writing, analysis of social studies and science, data and vocabulary will be covered, and the same thing for writing and language, except more grammar questions will appear. There's a math section with 36 points, reading section with 36 points, writing and language with 36 points, science section with 36 points, and an essay that is also canceled until the year 2023. The same topic will be covered in both tests, like content-wise.
SAT scores. SAT scores are released on the College Board website a few weeks after a student takes the test. Students must have a College Board account to access their scores and to register for the SAT. Once again, the SAT scores are out of 1,600. 800 of those points come from reading and writing. 800 points come from math. And when you want to decide what colleges to send your scores, when you are registering for the SAT, you can find a section that will allow you to send them as well.
ACT scores. They're also released after a few weeks or a month after the test is taken. They also need a College Board account to access their scores. The ACT scores are out of 36, and here's a chart to represent your ACT scores. You can see where you're at or your expecting score.
How to study for the respective test. There are multiple ways to prepare. For SAT, Khan Academy has a separate section just for SAT prep, and you can personalize it to your own needs. And there are also multiple study books you could use from different brands, such as College Board, Kaplan, Barron's, Princeton, etc. College Board also has PDF resources and previous released SAT and ACT tests. And there are also multiple SAT and ACT coaching centers, one being the GATS tutoring SAT program. And another great way to study is by analyzing your PSAT and PACT scores and your previous SAT and ACT scores.
If you want to join the GATS coaching program, I believe Kritika Auntie posted a link in the Zoom chat. Please go check that out. How do you know which test is better for you? Honestly, there is no better test. It really depends on you. If you keep taking like practice tests, or you can even take the official test for both of them, go with the one that suits you better, or like your higher scored one. But the main difference is ACT has more questions in less time, while SAT has harder questions with more time. ACT is also mostly strategic, while the SAT includes half knowledge and half strategy questions. Don't feel pressured if you're not getting like the score you want in one of them. Please do try out both of them and see which one you like better.
A comparison between the SAT and ACT. So the ACT has one math section while the SAT has two math sections, and the timings are different for both tests. As you can see, the reading test is around 35 minutes on the ACT, but you're given 65 minutes on the SAT. But in total,
oh no, I think Anu's internet cut out. But like she was saying, the reading test includes 35 minutes. For the ACT, English test includes 45 minutes. The science includes 35 minutes. About 3 hours for both tests. And the same thing for the SAT. Again, the optional test is canceled until year 2023, and colleges will not accept that. But it is open until June or July, I believe, so you can take it. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please do email the GATS tutoring email and fill out the feedback form.
So thank you, Anudipti and Nikita, for providing great information comparing both the SAT and the ACT standardized tests, and also giving general information about the preparation process for the two tests. So now we'll move on to Samika, who's also a mentor and active participant of many different committees in the GATS tutoring program. And she will now tell us about the Dream, Safety, and Fit colleges.
Hi everyone, my name is Samika. I go to South Forsyth High School. I'm a junior, and I'm a part of the GATS tutoring program and the information committee. So today I'm going to be talking about Dream, Fit, and Safety colleges. So what are Dream, Fit, and Safety colleges? So safety colleges are colleges where you exceed their standards, so you're almost certain that they will accept you, while fit colleges are colleges where you might be around their standards and it would not be unreasonable for them to accept you, but there's still a slight chance that you might be rejected. And then your dream colleges are colleges where you don't necessarily meet all their standards. You might be a little below them, but you still really want to go to these colleges. So you apply to see if you get in. So how do you determine this? So one way to do it is to go into the school's website, or a quick Google search will even do this, and you can find the accepted students' average SAT scores and their average GPAs. So for example, UGA's average GPA is 3.86 and average SAT score is 1320. So if you're around these standards, it might be considered a fit school. And if you exceed them, it could even be considered a safety school. And then check their admission rates. A good safety school accepts about 60 to 90% of their applicants. A good fit school is around 30 to 50, and a good dream school is 1 to 20%. So UGA's again is 49%, so it would fit into the fit school range. So these are some helpful resources. All of these websites will allow you to put in your GPA and your SAT score, and they'll give you, they'll assess your chances of you getting in. And obviously these are not 100% accurate because they don't consider your extracurriculars or your essays, but this is just a good chance to gauge where you stand on the college's acceptance rates. So some other things to consider when you're putting together your college list is academics, campus, social fit, and cost. So academics. So consider what major you're applying for and how well known that major is in that school. So some majors are really good in some schools while others maybe not that great of a quality. So also check out the professors. Do you really want to work with a certain professor at that school? So you always want to see if that school is well known for that major. And then graduate and master's option, if that's something that you want to do, always consider if you want to go to a different college for that or stay in that college and see what options they have. Accreditation is if you do want to go to a different college for graduate and master's, make sure you the credits you get in your college will be accepted at that graduate school and that master's school. Employment out of schools. So if you're not considering a graduate or a master's program, are the students graduating and getting jobs once they graduate? And then study abroad programs. This is where you go into another country and study there for a period of time. If this is something that you really want to do in college, consider schools that have strong study abroad programs. And then lastly, AP and IB credits. In high school, you're probably getting some AP and IB credits. So make sure that whatever college you pick is accepting many of these credits so you can graduate school a little bit early. So campus. So when considering campus, you want to consider the size, climate. Is it a big campus, small campus? How close is it to home? This goes into in-state versus out-of-state, which I'll get into more later. And then the facilities on campus, so gyms, restaurants, cafes, is everything you need nearby. Social fit. So diversity, are you going to meet new people? Are you going to gain those new experiences that you really want in college? And then extracurricular activities. If you really love doing something in high school or you find a passion for something and you want to continue that in college, you might want to consider what extracurricular activities that college has. On and off campus recreational activities. This leads back to the gyms, and some colleges have like poetry nights and stuff like that. So you want to make sure that you're happy wherever you're going, because you're going to be spending the next 4 years here. So you want to make sure that wherever you're going, you feel like you belong there. And then alumni goes back to that too, because some schools will invite you back and they'll really take care of you after you graduate. So if that's something you really want, consider the alumni networking. So cost. Cost is probably one of the most important factors. Cost includes financial aid. Some schools will provide this on their own. So you always want to consider this. Meal plans, we all have to eat. So it's very important that you consider what type of meal plan that college has. And then campus residence, this is dorms and everything. Do they have good dorms? And is it like something that you find yourself living there? And then scholarships, obviously we've all heard of the Hope Scholarship that you apply for in high school. But besides that, you can also apply for scholarships once you get to college. So consider those two. And then in-state versus out-of-state. This is probably one of the biggest debates out there, but in-state is a lot cheaper and it's close to home, which could be a disadvantage or an advantage depending on the person. But there's also limited universities to choose from, which kind of limits your options to whatever is nearby. And then out of state is much more expensive, but you do get to experience a different culture outside of where you grew up from. And there are way more universities you can choose from. You can choose from anywhere in the country, but there is a higher cost of traveling. So you're going to want to consider the bus, train, or plane fees that cost you to get back home when you need to. Okay, so making your list. Normally, you're gonna wanna have 2 or 3 safety schools, 3 or 4 fit schools, and 2 or 3 dream schools. Obviously, these can vary, but this is just a general idea of what you should have. So this is just an example of a student. So they have a 1470 SAT 4.1 GPA, a really good class rank, and great extracurriculars. So a dream school that they might be considering is Carnegie Mellon, where they don't necessarily meet the standards, but they still have that chance of getting in. So they apply anyway to see if they can, and same goes for Stanford. Fit schools could be Georgia Tech, UGA, Emory, where they're around all those standards. So there's a likely chance that they'll get accepted, but there's still a slight chance that they won't. And then safety schools are Georgia State University, University of North Georgia, and Kennesaw State, where this person exceeds all of their standards, and there's a very high chance that they'll get in. Okay, thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you, Samika, for giving us in-depth information regarding the difference between dream, safety, and fit schools, and what factors a student may consider when applying to college. Now we'll have Renisha, who is an active member of the Information Committee in GATS, who will talk to us between the differences of early action and regular decision.
Hello everyone, my name is Renisha Ramprakash and I am a senior at South Forsyth High School. I'm also a tutor in the GATS tutoring program and I'm a lead for the GATS Information Session Committee. I'm also the chair for the Georgia Association of Women in Science and I want to pursue as an astrophysics major in the future. Okay, so since I'm currently a senior at South Forsyth High School, I've been going through the college admission process and just want to share some information that will help both parents and students who will have to get to this point when applying for universities, especially for rising seniors. So what do these terms mean? Early action, deferred, or regular decision? Believe it or not, these are not the only terms you will see when applying for college, either on the common application or the coalition application, and even on the university's individual application. But there are terms like early action 1, early action 2, early decision 1, early decision 2, condition, deferred, denied, restrictive early action, and regular decision. So the start of senior year, when the common application for most universities opens up on August 1st, students will need to add their colleges on the common application. If some universities that they're expecting to apply to are not on the common app, then they would have to apply on the coalition app, since some universities might be on there. For example, UT Austin, Texas is a university that is not on the common app, but is on the coalition app. And there are universities that are not neither on the common app or the coalition, like MIT and all the UC system schools, where the student would have to individually submit on their individual website link. And it's also a good idea to do some research on the universities the junior year summer or even earlier, so people have an idea of when to apply for the specific school that students have in mind, like see what universities have the early decision and early action. And then when applying, the students have to make a decision when they want to submit their application. And this differs for all universities. Most universities have just early action and regular decision, like Georgia Tech and UGA. But some universities, like Emory University, have early decision 1, early decision 2, and then regular decision. So the difference between early action and early decision is where if the student applies for early decision and gets accepted, then that student cannot go anywhere else and is required to go to that school only. Whereas early action is where the student can apply there, and if he or she gets accepted, then that student is not required to go to that school only and can go to any other university where they have gotten accepted as well. And they have a choice when applying for early action, so it is not binding. Now, the difference between early decision 1 and early decision 2, or early action 1 and early action 2, is that only the deadlines for submitting the applications differ. So the university space out the number of applicants they want into 2 separate rounds. Now, the main difference between regular decision and early action is that the students who are already prepared, like they have their optimal SAT or ACT score or that required GPA and are satisfied with their work, usually apply to early action, which has their applications usually due in October or November. Like Georgia Tech and UGA have their early action deadlines on October 15th. Regular decision is where the student applies for the final round in early January, and the students would have to send their mid-year reports, where they would have to request the counselor like a month before, especially since they won't respond during winter break. And most universities will probably take a more holistic review approach than early action. Now I'm going to talk about the terms that the student can expect when applying for the early action round. For instance, I know that when students apply for early action to Georgia Tech or UGA, they get their results around late November or early December. In those letters, it might say you're accepted, you're deferred, or it might even say you're conditioned, and it might say you're denied. So deferred means you're waitlisted for the regular decision round, where the student does not need to reapply on the Common App or Coalition app, or even their individual application, but the universities will tell the students to just submit a form before the regular decision deadline and will be placed with the regular decision applicants. For example, Georgia Tech doesn't do any interviews. They only allow a deferred form that is due in January that allows students to talk more about their detail about their extra accomplishments. And conditioned means that the student is guaranteed transfer to that university starting from their second year in college. They will not be accepted for the freshman year in college, but they will be accepted if they do the transfer pathway from their second year in another university. And denied just means that they will have to apply for the transfer pathway to attend the university their second year of college. So the most common results that high school students get are usually accepted, deferred, or conditioned. There's also another term called restrictive early action. Universities like Harvard and Stanford have a round called restrictive early action, where the students apply in early November, but they cannot apply to any other university in the early rounds. Applicants can only submit one early application, and that is only to that university. And remember that these are just terms that the students should be able to expect and should be aware of when applying to college, and should not feel bad about what the result comes out to be during their senior year. Keep in mind that these are admission counselors that are reading the application, and it's really the things that are put on the application that gets someone accepted, so do not feel bad. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to this email. Thank you.
What a great presentation, Renisha. Thank you for explaining the difference between early action and regular decision, and how students should approach each one and other aspects of the process when applying to colleges.
Thanks to all the presenters from the GATS tutoring team. Now we move on to our guest presenters from top colleges who will inform us about their respective paths to college.
We will first begin with Pranav Atimutu, who is currently a student at Duke University, to talk to us about paths to college and how to find them.
All right, hi guys, give me 1 second and I'll just share my screen really quickly. All right, can everyone see my screen? Just someone unmute and let me know.
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
Pranav.
Good stuff. All right, well, hey everyone. My name is Pranav. My presentation is sort of in a backwards order, so I'm actually going to introduce myself at the end of my presentation. I just think that's a little bit more, I think, conducive to the way I've sort of set up my point. So,
Okay, now I can hear.
okay. All right, so I'm gonna basically, today I'm gonna be talking a little bit about, just in general, talking about paths to get to college and how to find them based on my own experience. And I'll try to keep it as general as possible because I know like every person is different. So I'm gonna sort of breeze through the parts about myself and talk a little bit more just about my general takeaways, because I think that's a little bit more helpful. All right, so yeah, so before we really begin, I want to take some time to think critically about the sort of stuff that we're talking about this webinar. So the name of this presentation is like how to get into top colleges, right? So let's take a moment and deconstruct the meaning of the word top. Like, what does top mean to us? How do universities come to be considered as top? Is there one list for that? So on and so forth. So, one criteria, probably the most common one, is just like reputation, what your parents have heard of, what you've heard of, what other people in your community have heard of. And these reputations develop over time as students in our communities go to certain colleges, they have good experiences. Other times they just develop, we just sort of inherit what the societal reputation of a college is. And so when we're thinking about reputation, one thing we want to think about is, where did this reputation come from? Is it a long-standing reputation just in the context of this country? Do you know people who've had good experiences at certain colleges, or are you just sort of taking as given what top is, given what society is passing on to you? And the other one is, how well does it hold up? A lot of definitions of top colleges are antiquated, and they've been standing for hundreds of years. For instance, the Ivy League conference is like the athletic conference that includes the, I think, 8 oldest universities in this country. So that reputation has been standing for almost 200, 300 years. So when we're thinking about it, think about how long it's been there. How well does it hold up today? How has it changed over time? The dynamics of reputation are very important. Another very closely tied concept is name brands. This is probably a term you've heard of, but it's like the name recognizability of a college. So I just dropped the term Ivy League. I'm sure that's one that most of the people on this webinar have heard of. And then like if I name colleges within the Ivy League, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, y'all have probably heard about those. They have a reputation as being very academically successful. And we know that because they've ingrained ourselves psychologically in our brains as sort of archetypes of what a good college looks like, just because these are names that we hear so often. Another criteria, and this one's an important one, is rankings. So there's a lot of external sources, corporations that do rankings of top colleges. To name a few, I think Forbes does some, Wall Street Journal does one every year. US News probably has the most common one that I know of. It's very popular. They rank like all of the universities in the country and they revise that every year. When we're thinking about rankings, because there's so many criteria to rank universities on, you can rank based on alumni, you can rank based on academic rigor, you can define academic rigor in many different ways. So, it's a very broad label. So when you're looking at rankings, there's things you got to think about, like who comes up with the criteria that are used to rank universities? Do these criteria conflict? Is one university better in one dimension and another one better in another? And then lastly, and I think this one is important and a question we don't ask ourselves often, how qualified are rankings? US News ranks top colleges, but it also ranks like top desserts, top states, I think, top countries. Like, like what qualifies them to rank all of these things, and where are they getting their information from? So another important thing to think about. And another way to think about top colleges is based on program. And the GATS tutors did a great job explaining this. So I'm not going to go too much into it, but is a college particularly good at one program, and does that make it top? And the point I'm trying to get at with all of this is that top is a very relative designation. Top is as far from absolute in the college realm as it gets. When you're picking between colleges, you're not choosing between like different items at the grocery store, say. You're not picking products that can only be evaluated on one dimension. You're choosing between experiences, and the research finds that when people think about experiences, they don't really order them ordinally. Like there's no first place, second place. Like it's not clear that one is better than the other unilaterally. There's so many different dimensions to evaluate experiences on that we just don't look at it that way. That's just how we're wired. And I think intuitively, y'all know what I mean when I say that when we choose between colleges or other life experiences, it's not as simple as buying a car or, buying groceries. It's just two very different animals. And so there's a couple criteria we can think about when we think of top. And I think the best one, or probably the one you've all heard of to a degree, is this idea of fit. And fit refers to some sort of intrinsic feeling that you belong. And you can gather this in many ways. A lot of people report visiting campuses and suddenly feeling a feeling of fit because they're able to get a better readout of the social atmosphere of a college than they're able to get, just by researching online. And that feeling of fit sticks with you because it's a relative feeling that's going to depend on the person, going to depend on their tastes and their preferences. And, something to note in terms of fit is that people transfer out of what we consider top schools all of the time, every single year, simply because they don't belong. And this probably seems crazy to a lot of people who are sitting at home and you're still in high school. You're like, how is it that someone gets into a top 10 university and wants to transfer out? And I think this shows you sort of the gravity of fit. If you don't see yourself belonging at a college after being there for a year, chances are you're not going to want to stick around no matter how good it is. So fit really is an important criteria when we're thinking about retention. And another point sort of tangentially related is that, once you get to these highest tier of colleges, the kind that I'm sure most of the people on the Zoom call are reaching for, everything really becomes comparable. Keep in mind that we're in the United States, one of the most privileged countries in the world. All of our universities are near the top of the global rankings all the time. So the quality of education you're going to get anywhere here is just worlds better than almost anything else that can be found in the world. So just something else really important I think everyone's got to keep in mind is that, keep in mind where we're coming from, the sort of opportunities we have the access to. And, at that point, everything is good, especially at this highest tier of colleges. So, this begs the question of what does matter in these relative rankings. And, as I mentioned, fit, that intrinsic feeling of belonging is very important. There's also campus culture and lifestyle. And obviously, these are hard things to get a readout on before you actually attend a college. But that's where campus tours, which obviously we're not doing because of COVID, but once they come back into fashion, that plus a hearty amount of research and talking to people who attend colleges are the best way that you can get a readout of these intangible factors. Another one, and this is still important, I think, is programs that are offered. So if you want to go to a college, an important thing that's going to decide whether it's a top school for you or not is, do they have what you want? Like, say I want to go to a school that's historically considered at the top, but I am interested in a very niche field of, say, evolutionary anthropology, and it's offered at a state school, but not at the top school I have my eyes on. So in that case, the top ranking is absolutely not an absolute ranking. It's completely relative, and it's going to depend on what school offers my program, not necessarily on what other people tell me is the top school. And another thing that matters obviously is cost. Some schools are cost prohibitive because their tuition rates are astronomical. So that's another really important consideration when you're weighing different options in your college search process. So what do you need in order to get into college? And, y'all have heard this stuff a billion times, and, we've been over this in this presentation before. Obviously good grades, SAT scores and ACT scores, extracurriculars that'll make you stand out on your application, well-written essays that present you as a well-rounded person, well-written recommendation letters from your teachers, and a good personality. That's an interesting point I decided to add on here, but you can ask me about that afterward if you're interested, and I can share my thoughts on that. But my point is, this is what we've heard gets you into college, and we've heard this stuff a billion times, and we've heard it again today. But my question is this really the question that we need to be asking ourselves? This question for me treats college as an end state where you spend high school gearing towards college, all towards preparing for college and applying to college. And once you get there, none of this stuff really takes you further. Your good grades in high school aren't going to determine what you do in college, nor your SAT scores literally determine nothing after you've sent off your last Common App. So I think this is sort of not the most worthwhile question to be asking ourselves. If you focus on all these things in high school, you might be able to get yourself into college, but it doesn't ensure really your satisfaction in college or anything beyond that. So I'm going to suggest that we consider a different question, which is what do you need in order to be successful in college? And I'm going to try to convince you all that this is really a more worthwhile question to be asking ourselves than just what do you need in order to get into college? Because frankly, the process of education and the process of being a learner doesn't stop at college. So we always got to be thinking a level higher than just getting in somewhere and thinking more about what will make us successful as a student and a lifelong learner, and where will we be most successful, and how do we determine rankings based on that?
Hello friends, welcome and welcome back to our channel.
So I've got a face on the screen right now. If anyone recognizes him, I think this is an interesting exercise. Raise your hand in the Zoom or throw up some reactions because I'm really curious if people have heard of this guy. Not a super well-known figure, but his name is William Derezovich. He is a former professor of English at Yale University, which you probably heard of. And he's the author of a book titled Excellent Sheep and an essay that came out a couple of years ago called The Disadvantages of an Elite Education. Both of them attracted a lot of wildfire in the academic communities. So I'd highly recommend looking up both of these. And if you're in the college search process, I'd highly recommend getting yourself a copy of Excellent Sheep because I think you'll find it very useful as a resource. And so he makes a bunch of arguments in that book. So keep in mind that Derezovich, up until he left Yale, has spent most of his life teaching students that came from the upper echelons of high school, the cream of the crop, so to speak. And what he noticed was that the system that takes people from high school to college, it pushes people to be smart and talented and driven to get good grades, but it creates students in his classes who are anxious, timid, and lost with no intellectual curiosity and a very unclear sense of purpose. This is what he noticed. And another observation he makes in the book based on what he saw at Yale is that once students, once they achieve the feats that get them into top colleges like Yale, they get there and they have really toxic levels of fear, anxiety, and depression. And given that we're in the middle of a mental health epidemic, particularly among students in this country, this is a very, I think, shocking phenomenon. A lot of us, especially parents, I think that the college search process ends the minute you get into a top college. But let me ask you the question of what is it really worth if you get to that college and you're unable to maintain your ability to learn in a healthy way? You're falling into pitfalls of anxiety and depression. At that point, what is it worth where you get into? And in the same sense, what is it worth getting into a top college if you aren't equipped with the resources to do well and to pursue your passions once you get there? And I think the most important point that he points out is that, the way that these students get to this point of anxiety and depression and the way they lose that intellectual curiosity is the endless hoop jumping that our communities have been pushing them into for years. For the past, I think, 10 years or so, many communities, especially the Indian community, has treated college as this sort of absolute thing where there's these top colleges and you have to grind yourself to death in high school to get into them. And what this does is it creates students that get into the colleges, but then by the time they get there, the way they prioritize learning is primarily in terms of things like grades, and they're not able to achieve the level of intellectual curiosity and exploration that makes you successful in college. Getting good grades may make you successful in high school, But the argument Derezovich makes is that in a place like the university, where the goal is to interact with people, build social skills, and explore frontiers that you otherwise never would have access to, what matters is curiosity. And frankly, the argument he makes is that curiosity gets beat out of you if you keep yourself as busy as you keep yourself in this sort of formulaic approach to college admissions. So I want you all to keep that in mind as we move forward, because I want to think a little bit about what does this mean for us as people who are in the college search process. Well, for one, I think it suggests to me that it's not enough to think of high school as just a device that gets you into college. High school is a part of your life, and so you have to treat it as something that's meant to be a learning experience in and of itself. And by the same logic, you can't think of college as something that's only meant to take you to your first job, or your first job is something that's meant to give you the resume credentials to get to your second, because this is a process that iteratively continues ad infinitum. It means that if you're at a given level, if you're at college, you're always thinking about what's coming next, and you're not taking advantage of the full resources present in a particular level. I see a couple things in the chat. Let me just make sure none of that's from me. Okay. All right, I'll keep going. Sorry. But yeah, so my point is, like, if you think of high school always as a stepping stone to get to college, then every part of your life is going to become a stepping stone. And this is the easiest way to make waste of college and the tuition dollars that you put into college. If you want sort of a more utilitarian, money-based way of looking at it, college is a huge investment, both in terms of money and emotions. And you want to make sure that you're able to put the most into it and get the most out of it. So again, just reiterating, high school is a part of your life. And in the same way, college is also a part of your life. So as much as we want to get into these good places, we want to make sure we set ourselves up for success and proper mental health once we get into college. And so that's why these extra considerations are important. And that's why I'm suggesting to you that it's not enough to just get into college, but to use high school as a way to prepare for college, to make yourself successful there so that you make the most of your 4 years. And my main sort of, if I had to sum this whole presentation up into one sentence, I would say to everyone on this call right now, spend high school learning the skills needed to find, develop, and pursue your purpose. I've been at Duke for a year now, and I can say that this message is the skills needed to find, develop, and pursue purpose are exactly what you need to succeed in college. It has nothing to do with my grades. I'm in an environment where my grades absolutely matter. And I can tell you as a student at like a quote top tier college, like it's really hard to keep my grades up, but that's not ultimately what defines success in college. If I just got good grades in my classes, it wouldn't be enough. And that's just the truth of it. You need to have extra skills that prove your intellectual curiosity and your ability to follow through on curiosities wherever and whenever they pop up. That's what makes you successful in college. Okay, so now that I've talked about all this, I think the natural next question is, how does this relate to the first question we asked? If you do prepare yourself to succeed in college and high school, does it give you sort of the same benefits as only preparing yourself in high school to get into college? Like, do you still reap the benefits of good admissions, getting into all the top places? And so my argument that I'm going to make is if you work to develop the tools to find and really pursue your genuine interests, you can expect the following as side effects: better mental health in high school and college. And this, I think, just goes back to the point that Derezovich made. If you prepare students to only pursue things in terms of admissions and numbers and not in terms of what they're actually curious about, by the time they get to an environment where they need curiosity, the lack of curiosity is going to drive them into the depths of depression and anxiety and other mental health issues that colleges are overwhelmed trying to handle. So if you work towards actually pursuing a genuine interest in high school, you can expect yourself to have better mental health once you get into college. And another important point, sort of along the same lines, is that you're going to have a better chance of being satisfied wherever you end up. So even if you don't end up at your top choice, if you've chosen a college that has your program and you're driven to pursue what you're interested in, regardless of where you end up, there's a higher likelihood you'll be satisfied in college than if you just sort of go and do admissions by the book. It'll also mean that you'll have a chance to write better essays because you'll have better topics to write your essays on. Someone, I think, mentioned this earlier in the presentation, but like your essays will come out much better if you can talk about things you're actually curious about. Like if you spend your entire high school experience doing things that other people are saying, it's going to be a lot harder to write an essay that really captures your voice. And by the same logic, I think, the better essays you write, the more you can present yourself as an intellectually curious person on your application, the more likely you are to actually impress an admissions officer and get admissions into top tier colleges. And this is another important point, right? So if you do really come into college with with the skills needed to pursue genuine interests, you're also less likely to drop out or transfer out because you're more likely to be satisfied with where you actually end up. But I also want to note, neither of these are bad things. If you're not satisfied somewhere, it totally makes sense to transfer out. Or if you have an idea that you need to pursue that you can't pursue in college, maybe you'll drop out. And so neither of these are bad things, but I think insofar as college admissions is considered, we want to get somewhere good and we want to stay there. And the best way to do that is to prepare ourselves to tackle our interests and our curiosities. You're also more likely to be satisfied with your career. And this is just by virtue of the fact that if you pursue genuine interest in college, you're more likely to end up in a job that matches your genuine interest. Hence, you're more likely to be satisfied while also earning a decent salary. And also, and I can say this as a college student, it really matters once you get to college that not only you pass your classes, but that you enjoy them and that they get you to ask critical questions outside of the class, that they spark curiosities that transcend the hour that you spend in class. This really matters. And the best way to set this up is to set yourself up to recognize your curiosities and follow through on them and take classes that match those curiosities. You're also more likely to make genuine friendships and connections because you're likely to connect with people who share your genuine interests. So on the flip side, if you don't really know what your curiosities are, you're more likely to make superficial connections that just won't stick. And by the same logic, you can probably develop better social skills because you'll be better able to articulate your curiosities. And finally, I think as a big sort of cherry on top moment, all of these skills and being able to pursue your curiosities are going to give you the skills needed to make the most out of college, whether that's from a monetary perspective or from a time perspective. I guarantee that if you know how to tackle your interests, you're likely to make the most of the resources that your university offers once you get there. And this list is not exhaustive. It continues to infinitum, these benefits are not exhaustive, but these are just a couple of the things that you can expect if you really think about, what benefits does being truly intellectually curious and developing that curiosity in high school get you once you get to college. So the natural next question is, what paths can you take right now to get to this level of intellectual curiosity that sets you up for college, success in college, and keeps you away from the paths that Derezovich talks about in his book. And so I think the biggest recommendation I can make, and something I learned far too late in high school, is to take classes that really interest you. The pre-prescribed way of going back college is to load your schedule up with AP classes. And I can tell you, I've had a bunch of sit downs with my college advisor, and he's told me multiple times that I was really stupid for doing that. I literally didn't even need half of those high-level classes to get into my college. They're not giving me credit here at Duke because Duke doesn't take high school credit. So at that point, a full AP schedule really didn't get me much because it kept me from truly exploring my interests. And instead, take advantage of the unique classes that are offered at your high school and take a moment to try new things. I know that my high school, for instance, had a bunch of different track programs for specialized interests where you can learn sort of subjects for which there aren't AP classes. And I avoided them just because I was sort of in that mindset of taking advanced classes without knowing what those classes would necessarily do for either my application or my well-roundedness as a person. Another important point, and this one is, I think, a controversial one, is, you don't want to burn all your time preparing for your standardized tests. A YouTube video came up in my recommended the other day, and it was about comparing the top colleges or admissions to top colleges in America versus India. And something that the presenter mentioned that I thought was interesting was in India, if you get a perfect score on the JEE exams, you can expect to get into all the IITs. It's almost guaranteed because they want the kids who get the highest scores. Now, the flip side is, and I can guarantee you this, even if you get a perfect score on your SATs, you're probably not guaranteed admission into the most selective colleges in this country. In fact, I can tell you, you're not guaranteed that. And the reason why is because we're embracing this idea of holistic admissions. Admissions officers are looking for people who are more than just test scores and numbers. And so it'll behoove you to spend your time making yourself a more developed person rather than trying to boost your test score by a couple of points. And I don't mean that just in sort of an idealistic way. I mean, this will literally give you a better chance of getting into a good college. And another important point, and this sort of goes along with the stuff I was saying, the best way to develop curiosities is to engage with the world in meaningful ways, whether that means service to your community, activism, or other things, because these are, especially activism, very important in our society today where a lot of social change is happening. And we as the young generation are the ones that are making that change. So the best way to find your interest in a time like this is to participate, participate in your community, participate in your society, and find those broad passions that you care about by serving the community that got you to where you are. And I should also mention, only do these things if you really care about them. If you're just doing it for the application, first of all, I think that's poorly reflective of you as a person, because I think it shows that you're willing to do service in a performative sense just to sort of get you to that college endpoint, and it treats college like an endpoint, which it shouldn't. And I think the other thing it does is, it wastes your time from other things you could actually be passionate about. So if service isn't your thing, don't do it. Find where your passion is, find your niche, and pursue that rather than doing something pre-prescribed. Another important point, do research. And I mean this in two different senses. So your senior year, spend a lot of time researching colleges to see which ones have the programs that are right for you. So remember, at the very beginning of this presentation, I said top is a very relative designation. So in order to find out, what means top for you, you have to do research. Look into majors, look into professors, also look into scholarships, because scholarships are not just a way to make money, but can also put you in programs that set you up for success in the university to which the scholarship applies. And other things that really matter once you get to college, internship programs, study away, look into all these opportunities and research things that you'd actually be interested in doing if you got admitted to a college. If you're applying to a college and you can't justify that any one of these things I've listed is of particular interest to you, then you haven't done your due diligence of research. And I also mean research in a different sense, which is like before you get to your senior year, research world issues that you're passionate about, find those curiosities early on, do what you need to reach out to universities, and you also have the internet completely at your disposal. So, go on the web, research more about the issues you care about and contribute to their fields, contribute to them through activism, do what you can in order to make yourself truly competitive, but also to develop yourself as a person in high school. And another thing, and I think this one is most important, don't just do something just because someone else told you to, or because your parents told you to, or because it worked for them. Because the reason something works for someone in admissions is because it's something that came out of their pure, genuine curiosity. So for you to just do it because it worked for someone else just isn't going to work in college. And it's also going to be a poor use of your time. Remember, like high school is a part of your life. So you want to spend your life, your entire life, doing what you care about and doing what's meaningful to you. So don't just do something that you don't enjoy just because someone told you to, or because someone told you that it's going to get you into a college. This especially, I think, applies to parents, because I find that it's parents that often push this message onto their children. All right, and this point I think is probably the most important one I'm going to make tonight is like, don't be lazy. Because I know I was lazy in high school. High school is 4 years in your life, and your life is finite, and you're not going to get high school back. So use your time wisely, use it to pursue those curiosities. And keep in mind also that it's the only training you're going to get before college. So if you have goals you want to set out to achieve in college, prepare yourself for them ahead of time by doing the due diligence in high school. Don't just put it off for college, because high school is literally a part of your life, and you want to make it, part of a life that you're happy that you lived. So don't waste your time. Use your limited time to do as much as you can. And ask yourself always, am I making the best use of my time, and how do I want to make use of my time? And at the same time, don't be crazy. And the same things apply here. High school is literally just 4 years of your life, and there's only so much you can do in 4 years. So at the same time that you're trying not to be lazy, also don't take it overboard. It's the training that you get for college to do the things that really matter, and don't spend your time like spreading yourself too thin if it means you can't devote your time to what you really care about. And then lastly, if opportunities don't exist at your school, make them exist. My school was a place where not a lot of clubs got too much funding or didn't even exist. So if there's something I wanted to do, the path of achievement for me was to just sort of go and make it happen. And I think this reflects better on your application than just being a part of the process. Be a change maker at your high school, be a change maker in your community. Don't just go with the status quo, because frankly, that's just not impressive and it's not a good use of your time. So having talked about that, I want to take a little bit of time at least, and I'll go through this pretty quickly because y'all can look up this information on your own. But I want to talk a little bit about my university because I really love it. So a little bit about Duke. Again, this isn't an exhaustive info session, so I'm going to keep this very brief. Visit the website for a little bit more info. So Duke, if y'all haven't heard of Duke, is a private university located in Durham, North Carolina. We have an undergrad population for about 6,500 students. So I guess that would make us maybe a small university and maybe a medium-sized sort of college. There's 2 campuses at Duke, East Campus, which is portrayed at the bottom, home to all of our first-year students, and also West Campus, which you can see at the top. That's home to the upperclassmen and also the graduate schools and basically everything else. There's also 2 separate colleges, and I think this will be interesting and an important point for anyone who wants to apply to Duke. Something that really drew me into Duke is that we have 2 different schools that each specialize in their own thing. So Trinity College is where you would go for most non-engineering related fields. That's the natural sciences, the social sciences, the humanities. And then there's also the Pratt School of Engineering, which is our engineering school. So if you were, say, a mechanical engineering student, you would apply through Pratt. And what is Duke known for? You know, again, based on how I portrayed top, it's really on each individual person to find out, you know, what is Duke known for? What are the universities known for? But, you know, here's a short list that I know from my experience. So we have a great public policy school, I think probably the best in the nation right now. Economics and computer science are our 2 most popular majors, I think, year after year. And then all of these other programs are just programs that I know from my experience interacting with professors are really good. And again, that's relative to me. You know, I made that determination based on my interactions with professors and also my genuine curiosities. Your tastes and preference are liable to be different. So, you know, just take this for what it is. You know, don't take it as exhaustive and don't take it as a reason not to or to apply. Another thing that really drew me into Duke is the unique and strong campus culture that we have here. And that's driven in large part by basketball. Duke has the greatest basketball program of all time. Please don't fight me on that. You're not going to win that fight. But I was not really a sports person when I applied to college, but I applied to Duke anyway. And I realized that it mattered a lot to me because sports culture accompanies a strong campus culture, which is something that really makes me happy and creates a social culture that I find that I thrive in. And then finally, Duke's got a really strong focus on both research and liberal arts education, so well-rounded education. So you can kind of check off both of those boxes while you're a student. And now a little bit about me. I'm going to speed through this because, again, I really want this to be more helpful to each person contextually. But just in case this helps, I'm from Alpharetta, Georgia. I went to Milton High School, if you'll have heard of that. I was very undecided about my major all throughout high school and until sophomore year of college. I declared my major literally a month ago, so I know what it's like to be undecided as a student. And I found that the best way to be undecided was to explore every curiosity that came into my head and, you know, give it a fighting chance for really being my true passion. And that helped me so that once it came time to declare my major, you know, I knew what really mattered to me, what I really wanted to explore in college. And so if you are an undecided student, don't worry about it. Just pursue your curiosities and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. A couple things I found passions for in high school. Late into high school, I found that I really loved creative writing. So if anyone wants to talk about that or shares an interest in that, you know, I'd love to talk to you about it. Also, I'm really interested in understanding human behavior and the human condition, particularly from sort of the lenses of psychology, political science, economics, explaining why we do what we do and optimizing human behavior to make it better for the people around us. These are a couple of my favorite classes. You know, that's going to depend based on person, but I found that these were the classes that really drove my interest and led me to pursue different things once I got to college. And then also a couple of extracurricular activities that I found particularly formative in my high school years. So why Duke for me? I applied RD and I actually almost didn't apply. Duke was the last school I applied to. I hadn't heard much about them when I was applying, so I almost didn't apply because I got lazy and I was just like, you know, it's the last school, you know, I hadn't heard much about it. Ultimately, though, I'm really glad I did. Duke was also the last college I toured, and when I got to Duke, you know, I felt a fit. You know, I felt that intrinsic feeling of fit that I started this presentation with, and it was primarily based on like the student culture. You know, it was very different from anything I'd seen before. There was an equal balance of sort of like working really hard, working as hard as you'd expect from a top-tier institution, while also focusing on living your life, developing yourself as a person, and sort of as an object within a social universe. And that really was something that stood out to me. The location and climate also stood out to me. I'm from the South. I can't stand cold weather, so Duke was really my move compared to most places up north, just because it was a lot more livable for me. And that just goes to show you, you know, intangibles that vary by person are really going to determine what college is top for you versus top for someone else. The academic environment of Duke was also super important to me. You know, everyone was super driven to pursue their passions, and that's just something I really valued when I was applying to college. And then, yeah, so, you know, other intangibles that I can't really put on paper, things that I really enjoyed that it's hard to express. It's those sort of things that you want to look for and that I'm hoping you'll find in whatever place you apply to and whatever place you tour, whether or not that's Duke. And again, you know, once you feel that fit, it's hard to ignore it. It was hard to ignore it for me. Before I found that fit at Duke, you know, I was almost completely undecided between all the places I'd applied to because, you know, I just applied based on what seemed to be at the top, based on what people said. And what that did for me is, you know, it gave me a bunch of schools to choose from, but it also meant I didn't have a strong preference between them. I valued them solely based on what I saw on paper, and I couldn't decide between them. And that's not a spot you want to find yourself in. So what you really want to do is hunt for fit. And once you can find that fit, there's really nothing else you want to look for. And then a final couple things about me. So I'm in my second year at Duke right now. I've declared my majors in psychology and political science. My main academic interest is in political behavior, and I'm also pursuing a certificate in decision sciences. A couple of my involvements here on campus, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but mainly one of the big things I'm involved with on campus is research. So I do a lot of research in positive psychology, religion and behavior, and also in behavioral economics and behavioral sciences. I'm recently an admissions tour guide, so I can talk a lot about Duke if anyone wants any more information. I do a lot of tutoring in the community because I'm really passionate about education. I'm taking a lot of education classes to learn more about how we can change education here in the United States. I edit for the literary magazine here, and I write for a pulp fiction podcast. I also played the violin back when I was in high school, so I continued that. I'm a member of the symphony orchestra, really enjoy that. I am really involved with my living learning community. And then finally, I'm also a slam poet. So if you like slam poetry, I'm your guy. You can talk to me about that. And then here's just another couple things you can ask me about. So if any of these things apply to you, just reach out to me, text in the chat, email me, anything like that. So yeah, that's all I've got for y'all today. I hope this is helpful. I know it might not have been exactly what you're expecting from sort of a college admissions presentation type perspective, but again, I really want everyone to think critically about what does it mean, what questions really matter in this process. Is it really just about getting into college, or is it about making ourselves better people and making ourselves people that can succeed at every level? So ask yourself that question, and I hope that all of you along with me can sort of reach the same conclusion that what matters at the end of the day in high school or in any stage of life is how much of a better person you're able to become and how much you can set yourself up to pursue your passions, because we're all here for a finite time and we all want to make the most of it. So again, thank you all. Thank you to GATS for having me. My contact information is up on the screen. I've also put up my Instagram because I know that's what the young people use nowadays. So, hit me up if you need anything. Thanks again. And I'll just turn it back over to the GATS tutors.
Oh, wow. What an insightful, detailed presentation, Pranav. Thank you so much for sharing a different angle on how to navigate through that college application process. Afterwards, we'll have Maya Chandi from Princeton, who will share us her presentation on paths to Princeton.
Hello, let me share my screen real quick. And I just want to say thanks to Pranav. That was a very helpful presentation, and I think made a lot of the points that I think I'll skip over for the sake of being concise. So let me share this. Okay. Everyone can see this? We're good?
Yes, Maya.
Okay. All right, so my name is Maya Chande. I am a freshman here at Princeton, and I'm pursuing a degree in mathematics as well as applied and computational mathematics. So I'm interested sort of in the intersections of math and physics. Right, so I think, yeah, like I said before, Pranav did a really wonderful job kind of thinking about the theory and the abstract ideas behind college admissions and how to go about it in a way that benefits you the most. And I think and keeping those thoughts in mind, I think I'll talk more about Princeton as a school, why I chose it, why I thought it was a good fit for me, and why it might be a good fit for you, and maybe focus more on sort of what's behind those universities that get ranked very highly, and maybe why it is worth going to a place like this in the modern age rather than just based on its old reputation. Right, so applying to Princeton is indeed a big decision. It's an investment of your time and money and efforts, things that are very finite in your senior year of high school, when you have classes and want to enjoy your life and all of these other things on your plate. So here are some things that I considered when I applied. And there's probably additional things that are important to you as well, but this sort of list is for you to kind of personalize based on what matters to you. Right, so things I considered, right, college life was definitely one, I think that was emphasized before as well. So sort of the vibe you get from campus, like how social you want your life to be, how academically focused. Here at Princeton, everything is very academically focused, and I'll be sort of lucky if I get a nice weekend to enjoy with friends, but that's sort of how I like it. Like I enjoy immersing myself in academic sort of things, but yeah. Yeah, sorry. Okay, right. So yeah, and I think this is an important thing to consider because this is a big factor that sort of influences like if you will be mentally well while you're at college, whether you'll be sort of what sort of mood you'll be in, and being in a good mental state is sort of a prerequisite on doing well academically and reaching your goals and everything like this. So making sure college life and that sort of aspect of things is fitting for you at a particular place is incredibly important. Right, so potential careers is also another thing that I considered. So Princeton is very theoretical in its academic preparation. So most of the classes you'll take will have a lot of theory, which tends to make things more difficult. But if you, I guess, want to be like an engineer or something, right? And you don't see yourself ever working in research, you don't want to teach, you don't want to really be in academia, then maybe Princeton is not the best engineering school to go to. You could probably end up somewhere like Georgia Tech where the classes are more application-based, and I guess you get more experience with things like job interviews and just more experience that's relevant to where you want to be. On the other hand, I guess for me, I'm very interested in going into academia. Research and teaching and that sort of thing has always sort of been what I want to do. So Princeton sort of seemed like a good fit there because our faculty is pretty amazing and tend to be at the top of their field. So it's incredible to be able to make connections with people like that during your undergrad. Right, so another thing is just areas you're interested in studying, whether there's particular faculty in that department that you're very keen on meeting or learning from, or you know, if there's just particular strengths of certain programs at a college that you're going to, then that may be a good factor that would convince you to go there and might make that a good fit for you, right? So for me, it was math. Our math department here at Princeton is kind of insane. So it's just incredible being taught by like these crazy people. And yeah, so I think this was like one of the biggest factors for choosing Princeton over other places that may have been more cost effective or may have been, I guess, easier, quicker, like maybe I would have more of a social life and things like this. But I guess this is sort of the decision that I made. And of course, this is individual. Right, and then I sort of hinted at it there, financial matters. This is a big thing, particularly when applying to the Ivy League. We tend to have like generous financial aid here at Princeton. But again, this is a very like individual situation, one that is important and should definitely be considered. And again, I put et cetera here because there's probably many different factors that may matter to you in addition to this, that you should definitely sort of list out concretely and definitely consider in a very concrete form. Right, so I guess in terms of college applications, it's very difficult to, you know, give you like a recipe in some sense of like, okay, this is what's going to get you in, focus on these things. It really doesn't work that way. It's holistic. It considers every part of you and whether you will be a good fit for that university. And so college admissions officers have this sort of nuanced sense of what makes an applicant fit for a university, and that may be things that you just can't write down on paper. So, but here are some factors that I think could definitely help you in a place like Princeton if you want to do well in Princeton and want to sort of be imbued with the sort of ideals that Princeton holds. So academic excellence is definitely one. Demonstrating that you are willing to take challenging classes in areas that you're interested in is very important. So whether that be AP, IB, research you do outside of school, various ways that you could show that you're genuinely interested in a certain area that you want to pursue, right? And so the essays are also an important way to sort of show your ability to communicate yourself and your passions. And this is just a very good like life skill in general. And I think one that Princeton enjoys testing. Their supplemental essays are generally very fun to do and make you think about yourself in interesting ways. So essays are definitely a place to be creative, but not so creative that you sacrifice the message that you're trying to send about yourself, right? Okay, and then extracurriculars. So these are, again, just like avenues to explore your passions, explore what you're interested in, and they sort of just want to see you exploring and being a curious human being who enjoys learning about the world in whatever lens that you might enjoy doing so, right? So I guess through my explanations of these first three bullets, I've kind of been underscoring this idea of intellectual curiosity. So genuinely being interested in some area, whatever it might be, and wanting to understand it at a very deep level, or having like a problem in your head, like, okay, if you're very interested in sort of public policy problem of some level, or sustainability or things like this, if you're very passionate about something like this or have an intellectual driving force, show that in your application. And I think emphasizing this, if it's genuine, can definitely help with applications to somewhere like Princeton, which is a place where there's so many ways to sort of like cultivate these passions and interests that you might have. Yeah, so I guess these are sort of more general things, and I don't know, again, college admissions is a very like holistic and not explicit process. So again, I can't give you a general recipe for, you know, what will work, what will get you into Princeton, but all I could really tell you is my own experience. Not for you to be like, okay, this is exactly what I need to do, but for you to be more like, yes, this is sort of the rationale of me pursuing things that I'm interested in, and this is the extent to which I might do this, or what I'm getting at is, yes, don't copy this. This is not a recipe. This is rather a way to show you my thinking and how I pursued my passions, and maybe give you a sort of guide on how you could do the same. Right. So I applied restrictive early action, again, because I was very interested in mathematics. Princeton kind of was like the first option because of the faculty there and the research opportunities. So it was kind of the first on my list there. And so I applied Princeton and then Georgia Tech. Tips in general about the application process: think about your essays early. Don't stress yourself out with things this important. Definitely give yourself time to ruminate over your ideas, make sure you're conveying yourself in the best way possible. Go through several iterations of essay ideas, go through the whole process, and definitely like you'll end up settling on something that you're satisfied with. But if you cram yourself into like a week before the deadline, you're probably not setting yourself up to make the most of the situation that you have. Right. And so then you have like grades and SAT scores. These things, I think, come along with just being motivated, being interested in whatever you study, and picking classes that align with your interests. SAT scores tend to be just like a hurdle you have to get over. And I think it was talked about before, but I don't ascribe much importance to it, and neither do universities at this point. Right, so things in my application that I emphasize, I guess, were a combination of service, intellectual curiosity, interdisciplinary interests, and just being myself. I didn't try to paint a picture of myself in a way that I thought was conducive to getting me into Princeton. So I didn't try to make myself someone I wasn't, just to try to get better chances, right? So I guess I highlighted things like research, my interest in like art history and math, and like, so I I guess, these interdisciplinary things that I guess were important for Princeton because we're such a liberal arts-based curriculum. Right. So I guess these are things that I emphasized, but I guess you have your own highlights within your own academic career, that academic and personal career really, but that you could definitely emphasize in your own application. But again, these are just things that sort of stood out to me and sort of also aligned with what Princeton's values sort of are. Right, and I guess I could talk a little bit about my time at Princeton, and one word sort of jumps out at me, and that would be challenging. Like, it's a genuinely challenging environment. And I don't mean this in a negative sense. It's challenging in that it pushes you to be definitely more than you came in as. And so it's generally been one of the most rewarding years of my life. And I've grown an incredible much from last March, and I just am a totally different person. And I think that is what makes a place like Princeton incredibly special. Like, the people that you surround yourself with who have incredible passions and incredible insights in what you want to study, and being able to hang out with them on a Friday night eating ice cream, that sort of environment is something that I don't think I would personally find anywhere else in the same way. So, right. But I mean, it has genuinely been a challenge adjusting to the time commitments and just the jump in how rigorous our curriculum is. But that said, again, it's been very rewarding. But the reason I say this is that, yes, people definitely do get caught up in the name of things like, oh, yes, I got into Princeton, or, oh, yes, I get into Harvard. But a lot of times people genuinely forget that these are real schools. They have real expectations of you, and it's not going to be easy. No matter how well prepared you feel like you are in high school, it's something that you have to be up for the challenge for. And that's just something I say to you while you're doing your applications, just so that you realize that, okay, I'm not just signing up for a name, I'm signing up for a university, and definitely a place that is going to push me. And if you're applying to Princeton, I hope that push is welcome. Yes, and if you have any other questions about Princeton, feel free to email me, hit me up on Instagram. Here's my phone number. Any other questions about math, physics, anything, I will be glad to talk to you. Right, and I will hand it back.
So thank you so much, Maya Chande, about the great information regarding your joining to Princeton. Next, we'll proceed to Pravalika from UGA to explain to us the college admission process and her journey to UGA.
Thank you. So my name is Pravalika, and I am a third-year student at UGA pursuing a bachelor's in biological engineering and an informatics certificate. So a little bit about me. Other than my academics, I try to be involved in different aspects around the campus to pursue my interests and learn something new. So I'm currently a lab assistant doing research in blood coagulation and COVID-19 effects. And I'm also a peer learning assistant for general chemistry because I just like sharing my information and like teaching to kids, which also pushed me to be a virtual coach at Mathis Academy. Other than that, I love spending my time volunteering and providing service to my community through organizations like Tau Beta Gamma and MedLife. And I have really enjoyed my time here at UGA and found so many ways to become involved in the community and find places and people to fit in with. So when I'm asked the question, why UGA, the quickest response that I have is it's closest to home and I fit in the environment. And the main reason is because of the way campus is and like how campus life is structured. When I visited UGA during a campus tour, like I instantly felt like it was a place I belonged to because I really liked the way the atmosphere and the environment was throughout the campus. There were like so many places where I could just sit down and like chill with my friends or like do my work outside or take a hike. And it just felt really nice to be outdoors and on campus. And as far as academics are concerned, UGA is a research-based school, which lets me find new research opportunities in fields like tissue engineering and nanotechnology, which are more applicable to a biological engineer. And apart from that, since biological engineering is a recent field, there are so many advancements that UGA is trying to make. And it kind of helps me understand which direction I want my career to like be focused on and where I want to be in the future. And overall, like the biggest thing was like the vibe at UGA made me feel I belong here and this is like my second home. So during high school, I tried to dip my feet in like every opportunity that came across me. I am a IB diploma graduate, but I also took several honors and advanced placement courses that were available to me. And I also made sure to take classes that I was interested in and where I can have enough time outside of my academics to spend time with my friends or like to provide my service to the community and also engage in like my interests, which are like sports and like playing tennis and all. I also joined a lot of honor societies and community service related clubs and academic related clubs so that I was engaged in what was going around in my school as well as what was going on in my community. So as I mentioned before, I am a IB diploma graduate. So some of you might have the question, what is IB? Well, IB stands for International Baccalaureate, which is a 2-year program that has an emphasis on the depth of knowledge and experiences that candidates gain. It gives opportunities to grow intellectually, emotionally, and ethically. Students will have, they will be taking traditional classes and critical thinking classes where they'll just know about what they're learning and how they can apply it to things outside the classroom. And one of the biggest aspects of the diploma program was something known as CAS, which stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. And this was just a way to push the candidates to like apply their knowledge and apply their skills to various activities in the community. So it kind of tried to have a connection between like academics and the community and made sure they're not students are not just focused on like getting good grades or like just studying all night long. It made sure that we were connected to the community. And personally, the CAS program really helped me understand the impact I was making in my community and improve the way I was as an individual. When applying to colleges, I started my research and gathered information in like August, which colleges I wanted to apply by the regular decision or by the early decision. And I found wherever my applications were, and I made sure to gather all the necessary additional documents. As far as UGA was concerned, I applied early to UGA, and in order to find my application, I just went to the college website and made sure to see if like they accepted the Common App or if there's any additional places I need to apply. So apart from the normal forms and everything, my application to UGA asked for 2 additional essays. And essays were a big thing about college apps. So for my essays, I wrote them about my challenges and my unique experiences I had as a child or through the IB program. Like the biggest thing throughout my high school career was the IB program. It really helped me develop my personality and character as an individual. I developed like different time management and critical thinking skills that I can use as I go through my college career or as an individual in the community and like make sure that I know what I'm doing and I'm doing whatever I want to do. And I think the biggest like hardest thing in IB were the courses. The IB courses are so much harder than other high school classes, but I think they really helped me prepare for what college will be like and what I'm going to have to face in college. And I definitely think I have had the least amount of sleep in the 2 years I took IB, but those 2 years definitely did give me the best experience I've had. And I have so many stories that I can share with my friends, my family, and even with the admissions office. So regardless of how you make up your high school experience, like Pranav and Maya said, like it's important to like take up all the opportunities that come for you or the ones that you make. Take what you're interested in and like follow your curiosity, because the experience that you have are the things that count and the things that will help you reach your goals. And these experiences and opportunities are what make up our journey to success, whether it's if you want to go to what your like top favorite college, or if you want to like become an entrepreneur or whatever, however you want to set up your career. On that note, please feel free to reach out to me. I have my contact information here. If you have any questions about UGA, or if you just want to talk to me about the process or anything. And thank you, GATS, for having me, and I'd like to turn it over to them.
Thank you so much, Pravalika, for such an in-depth walkthrough on the process involved in applying to UGA and other colleges in general. Moving along, we're now going to have Shruti Verma from Columbia University share with us her presentation on college admissions and her journey to Columbia.
Hi everyone, my name, as you just heard, is Shruti Verma, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to speak with you all today on the subject of my journey to Columbia University. Just before I begin the presentation, I wanted to preface this by saying that I really have wanted to focus my time here talking about my story and my tangible and qualitative experiences before, after, and during the college application process. I don't give too much specific advice in terms of like logistical details, but if there are any questions that you think I'm well equipped to answer, then feel free to reach out to me at sv2611@columbia.edu after the presentation, and I'll be more than happy to offer any insight that I can. I want to start off by talking about my experience before college, particularly in terms of my high school experience. I'm going to be discussing my interests, my aspirations, and how those translated into actual functional involvements. I was fortunate enough to discover my passion for computer science when I was very young. My dad's a software engineer, so when I was little, I would always see him lugging around his laptop, and almost just out of pure curiosity for what he was doing on that thing for hours on end, I started signing myself up for free online classes to learn more about programming and web development and even cybersecurity and things like that. By the time I got to high school then, I knew that I wanted to get more involved in computer science because I loved it a lot. But of course, the word involved can be very ambiguous, right? What does involvement look like? I think a lot of people think that when you pinpoint the subject that you're interested in high school, what you should do is just take more and more classes or more and more courses that you can find on that subject. And even though that's helpful, and even though I took the likes of AP Computer Science and more online courses on more advanced topics in the field, I think another thing that's really important to do in high school is to get more practically involved in the fields that you're interested in. And the reason that this is important is twofold. First of all, in terms of the college application process, in my experience, it can be helpful. Colleges often look to see that you've demonstrated your knowledge in a field in more ways than just getting good grades on tests or maybe certifications that you can find online. They want to see that you're actually able to contribute to the field that you've selected as your primary interest. Secondly, if this is really a field that you're interested in and thinking about working in the future, then you want to get a taste early on of what that might look like, whether it be in industry or in academia. When you actually go on to, in my case, work in computer science, you're not going to be taking courses, right? You're not going to be just digesting information that other people give to you. You're going to have to actually practically put your knowledge to use and contribute something to the field that you've selected. And so seeing what that looks like can be helpful early on, because then you'll know if the field is actually for you. And so that's exactly what I did with computer science. I joined some competition teams to learn more about cybersecurity and digital forensics. I did some independent projects in computer science, and I was also a research intern at the Scripps Research Institute, where I learned about interdisciplinary applications of computer science for the very first time. And in fact, that experience was so valuable that the interdisciplinary applications I learned about, I pursue to this day. And so that's why I'm a very strong just proponent of like getting more functionally involved in the fields that you're interested in. Of course, from hearing all of this, you might think I was just a plain old computer science nerd in high school, but I actually had a lot of non-STEM interests as well. I was captain of our high school speech and debate team. I loved reading and writing, and so I was vice president of our school's Writing Help and Tutoring Center. I was also very politically involved. During my time as a speech and debate captain, I learned that I liked discussing political subjects and expressing my views on them, so I started to get involved in organizations. On the right-hand side, you can see a Snapchat story I had from the day I was working at the polls during the midterm elections in 2018. Something I want to touch on really quickly here is that a lot of people actually encouraged me to discontinue these non-STEM interests and involvements. They said, you know, you already know you're going to work in computer science and technology on. There's no point in spending time writing speech and debate cases when you could be working on more projects. They'll make you stand out more in terms of a computer science applicant for colleges. This was really troubling for me to hear because these non-STEM interests, even if they weren't necessarily correlated to what I wanted to do like for my career, made me happy and I really enjoyed doing them. So ultimately I decided because they made me happy to continue pursuing them, but I'm actually going to come back to this topic a little bit later because this was something that really especially troubled me during the college application process. Finally, one last thing I wanted to touch on is that I did a lot of volunteering when I was in high school, specifically on the topic of helping girls get more involved in computer science. I started a summer coding camp and spoke at some radio talk shows about my experience as a girl in computer science and how I think other girls might be encouraged to get more involved in the field. I joined some larger organizations. The reason I'm highlighting this is because I think a lot of people volunteer in high school just for the sake of volunteering. But ultimately, I think that the most enriching and valuable thing to do is find a cause that you really, really care about and get as deeply involved in it as possible, because then you'll find yourself doing things because you love them and because you care about them, and not just because you need to collect up volunteer hours. So that's another thing that I think other people should consider in high school, that you don't just need to join the volunteering clubs and go to the food bank every now and then, or go to this organization every now and then and rack up hours, but you should really contribute to things that you care about. Now, in terms of the college application process, I'm going to start out by talking about my biggest worry. I don't know if any of you have heard of this, you probably have, but when I was applying to college, I read online over and over again that colleges were looking for students with a big spike as opposed to well-rounded students. And what that meant, what those articles explained, is that colleges want to collect the best computer scientists out there and want to collect the best mathematicians, the best debaters, the best swimmers, the best artists. They don't want someone or like one person who's kind of good at a lot of things. They want a bunch of people who are each the very best in their field. And this made me a little bit nervous, because during high school in my past 3 years, I had already decided I'm going to continue pursuing all of my interests, even those that I'm not necessarily going to make a career out of. And because of that, because I had done that, I admittedly hadn't been able to win the biggest computer science competition out there or publish 3 research papers or something like that. And so I thought, well, I'm what am I supposed to do now? I made that decision because pursuing non-STEM interests made me happy, but now I don't have a big spike. Something I was considering was maybe I'll just leave everything humanities related that I did off of my application, and I'll just talk about my computer science pursuits and them to the point that they become my big spike. And I really thought about this for a long time, but as I kept considering it, I realized that if I was to do this, the person I'd be presenting on the application wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be my genuine and authentic self, which means that if I was to be accepted, the college that accepted me wouldn't really be accepting me. They'd be accepting a manufactured version of me. And this could have a variety of consequences. Perhaps that college then is the best fit. I know some other presenters have talked about what fit means. Perhaps that college is better for those students who really only have one interest, which means when I would go to that college because they had accepted me, I would be encouraged to only pursue one interest and would have to give up other things. So ultimately, I decided I'll just accept my story. I won't leave anything off of my application. I'll accept who I am and what I've done and just frame it in the best way possible. And so that's what I spent the summer before my senior year, and then my senior year working on. I created a common application essay that was a little bit weird. I talked about Frankenstein, which is one of my favorite books. I talked about big tech companies and my experience working in computer science. And I also brought in my volunteer work with women in computer science. And I was able to tie all of these things together and just present it as who I was. And ultimately, it's proved useful because now I am a sophomore at Columbia University, as you've learned, and it is the perfect fit for me. Everyone I've met at Columbia University is exactly like me. They also have a variety of different interests. My roommate freshman year, for example, is like this world-renowned vocalist. She went to a performing art high school, but she also won a bunch of research competitions in the field of environmental engineering. Another person I met, one of my close friends, he wants to grow up to be the president of Venezuela. He's really passionate about politics, but he also cares about economics, for example, and is pursuing that to begin off his career. So ultimately, by presenting and accepting my authentic self, I was able to get accepted into a college that appreciates my varied interests and the fact that I was well-rounded. At Columbia University, I'm pursuing a computer science major specializing in intelligent systems and a double minor in econ and poli-sci. I've continued my varied involvements. I'm still in computer science as well as poli-sci related organizations. I've also pursued some entrepreneurship. That's the other great thing about Columbia, is that because there are so many people with so many different interests, you're really able to explore some of the things that you might not have had the opportunity to do before. More specifically, some of the things that I've done is I've had the opportunity to found my own startup and put it through a startup accelerator. I also write for the Columbia Political Review, which I've really enjoyed. Some of the more fun involvements that I've had include being on the board for the Hindu Students Organization, as well as on the outreach board for the Society of Women Engineers, which I really appreciate because I get to still keep working on my passion of bringing more women into computer science. In terms of my favorite memories, if you don't know, Columbia University is located in New York City, which is fantastic because you get to explore the city and there's so many great sites to go see. The Met is like 10 minutes away from our campus, and we go there a lot, as well as in Central Park. So that has been really amazing. Finally, in terms of general advice, if I had to give you 3 pieces of general advice, I'd say, first of all, do what you love, not what you think you need to do, because you'll just be happier that way. And if you're happier, you're going to be more successful. Finally, I'd say be a leader, not a follower. So we talked about earlier how involvement can be more practical than just taking more courses. And not only that, but the things that you do get involved in, try to get involved in to the largest extent possible. Don't just participate in an organization, see if you can take on more responsibility and become a leader in that organization. If it's something, and that's easier when it's something you're passionate about, again. So don't pick things that you think you need to do, pick things you love, and you'll just naturally want to take on more responsibility in them. And then finally, most importantly, present yourself authentically in your application, and you'll end up where you're meant to end up. I think that's the cheesy thing a lot of people say, is that you'll end up going to the college that you were meant to go to, even if you have to transfer to get there potentially. But the only way you can do that is if you present yourself on your application as who you really are, and the college accepts you for who you really are. And that's my presentation. Again, I think we're having questions maybe at the end, but if you have any that you think you would like me to answer or offer insight on, please contact me at sv2611@columbia.edu. I'm more than helpful to help in any way that I can, and I've really enjoyed speaking with you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. That was a great presentation. Very helpful information. We appreciate your taking time out of your schedule for this. Next, we'll have Mr. Ram Prakash, who graduated from Georgia Tech, who will give us his presentation on pathways to Georgia Tech for in-state students.
All right, thanks for that handoff, Sid. Just a sec. All right, so 2 main takeaways from my presentation today is going to be how to get into Georgia Tech for sure, even if you don't have good grades right now. That and just more of a holistic thing. I'm just going to reiterate what what's his name, Pranav was saying. Honestly, Pranav, you hit it out of the park, man. I really wanted to drive some of those points home. You mentioned mental health. That's often a topic that's not discussed in our community, but it needs to be. And finding your purpose. I know a few people before that said so. It's really important. I'm just gonna give you a quick little story. I was going to watch an Indian movie a Tamil movie at Digimax with my parents, and his uncle comes up to my mom and he's like, like unga payan Georgia Tech la padikran, your son's studying at Georgia Tech. And then he's like, anga enna padikran, what is he studying? And I was like, and I see my mom, she's like, anga, he's studying electrical engineering. And he's like, oh, appo, okay. And that kind of culture, is what I don't want y'all to have to, go through. So a little bit about Georgia Tech. You know, y'all know a lot about it already, so I'm not going to go over that. But the biggest thing is that it's a best value school. It's great for ROI, return on investment. You know, you say you were to get into a better out of state school, and like UT Austin or something, but it's going to cost you a lot more to go out of state. It's better for you to stay in state because therefore you won't get into debt. And I can tell you it's not great graduating college with a lot of debt because it ties you to a certain job. You might want to run for office, you might want to start your own business, do your own thing, but having to pay off that loan keeps you at a job that you might not want. So that's just one takeaway that I wanted to give to y'all. But other than that, you know, Georgia Tech requirements, the same for a lot of the top tier universities. So one great thing about Georgia Tech is that if you are in state, you will be able to transfer in as long as you have, well, the basic requirements are a 3.3 minimum GPA at your other university college. And honestly, I think that and then you got to take certain courses that are a requirement for your major. But other than that, you know, that's pretty much all you need. I actually graduated from Georgia Tech in May, so I'm not that much older from a lot of the other guest speakers. And in electrical engineering, so many of the people that were in my classes were all transfer students. I lived in a house with 6 other people, and 5 of them transferred from another university in Georgia. So, and then another thing that I want to say about transfer students is they all of them had better grades than me. And that's, you know, that's interesting because I think they're getting in it because they know what they want to get out of Georgia Tech. They're really, they know what they're getting into and all that sort of stuff. So other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say here. And these are just some resources. You should check out the AJC article. And another thing is, I'm really glad that y'all are getting politically involved. That's great to see. You know, I was in college Democrats at Georgia Tech myself, very involved in student government, service fraternities and all that. A lot of people like us don't get the chance to actually speak their truth. So it's important that those who have the ability to take action are responsible for taking that action. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you. Please add me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. That's it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramprakash. That was some very helpful information, and we at GATS really appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to come here and tell us more about Georgia Tech and, I guess, different methods for applicants to, you know, find their path into the college. Next, we have Ms. Jenny Kim from Aim High Academy outlining an ideal SAT plan.
Okay, well.
If you want a screen share, you can take over from now.
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for having me. Is this loud enough? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, yes, let me go ahead and share my screen. Very exciting to see. I can see some familiar faces. So the presentation from the college students and high school students, that was very nice. Let me go ahead and share my screen. If I can do this right. Share my screen. There. So, okay, now I can do. All right. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some practical things. I can see some students and maybe some parents. So I'm going to talk about the post-COVID-19 facts and ideal SAT plans. I know many of the high school students and parents are anxious to hear about, so what do I do? If you're a 10th grader, 9th grader, and juniors in high school, if you're a parent, you probably are anxious to find out, so so it's great to hear all the college students, their college life, what they learn. I think that's fantastic. But then for students, high school students, I think what it really matters is, how do I really prepare? How do you really prepare from now on if you're 9th and 10th and 11th graders? So we're going to talk about some practical, something that's really helpful for you, something that you can really apply. I'm going to quickly talk about some up-to-date information about what's going on after COVID. I know previous college students talked about some facts, so I'm going to quickly just go over about the early admission, just a number. So what are the stats? So if you look at the March update, as you know, the SAT, ACT is optional. It's not as mandatory, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to, you're not going to do the SAT. You will still have to, because the optional means that you'll still need the score, right? So if you look at the right-hand side, it says the post-COVID, so this year, 2021, the early admission acceptance rate actually has decreased. And I'm going to move on to some of the colleges that a lot of you guys are interested in. So University of Georgia, I know some previous student presenter talked about the life of a UGA. I know many of you guys are interested in UGA. So let's just go ahead and look at the stat real quick. Before COVID, just take a look at the number that they were looking for. Let's take a look at the 2021 early action. So I can see that 2020, the ACT scores and SAT scores, pretty much the same. So I'm going to move on quickly onto different colleges. As you know, Georgia Tech, many of you guys are interested in going into Georgia Tech. So here are some quick facts. This is something that you can easily find on their admission website. You guys are probably wanting to find out about, so what do I need to get? What kind of SAT, ACT do I still need to submit? Because it says optional. So as you can see on the right-hand side, on 2020 COVID, after COVID. So these are the numbers that we're still looking for, 29 to 34. As you know, between SAT and ACT, Georgia Tech accept either, whatever the highest score that you have. So this is some number that you can see for the Emory University. Okay, so as you know, ACT is out of 36, SAT is out of 1600. Like many of the presenter mentioned before, this is not everything. SAT, ACT, however, it's still an important factor by the time you apply to college. So I'm gonna skip some of these and go right into, I think there's one more person behind me. So I'm gonna go right into and give you guys some really helpful, some practical things that you can apply if you're a high school student. So the most important criteria, of course, it's a GPA. It's, as an academic standpoint, GPA does matter. I think that's the number one priority. SAT, ACT does matter, even though it's optional. And number three, I think it's the AP, as well as extracurricular activities. I think it's more, colleges are looking more about who you are, they're interested in. So what are you different from others? What unique things do you have? So I think those are really, really important. So I don't know if anybody have touched or talked about this before. Many of the students do ask me about, is there a penalty for taking the test multiple times? So as you know, the answer is no, there is no penalty for taking multiple times. I want to show you a quick what the SAT is looking for. So as you know, for both SAT and ACT, the answer to the previous one was No penalty. So you can take as many times you want. Of course, if you take 10 times, that's too tiring. So you want to plan yourself and think about, do I like SAT and ACT? And then I'm going to show you later on how to plan those things. So just to give you a quick super score policy of the SAT, this is just a quick example chart. A student, for example, has tried four attempts. And as you can see, the highest verbal score that this student got was the 4th attempt in August 2018. The highest math that student got was the 2nd attempt, so 750. Your super score becomes a 1450, as you can see at the very bottom, not 1420, because you're going to pick and choose the highest per subject. So that's how you count the super score. Let's look at ACT. So ACT is a super score also. So as you can see on this chart, so ACT, as you know, it's got 4 subjects. And out of the 4 subjects, you can pick and choose the highest per subject. So that is the super good news. There is another very, very exciting news about ACT. So starting this year, I believe in spring, so section retesting will be available. So this is after taking the full ACT. You can pick and choose a sections that you want to take. So that's a very, very good opportunity for students. Another important thing, so section retesting, that's going to start soon. You can also do the super score. Now before I would say 2020, every colleges accepting ACT, they were either accepting the super score or one best single test. Now ACT has changed so that now you can take multiple times of ACT and send a super score to college. So now online testing, this was still a question mark. I think they were having a lot of technical issues. So in the future, but it's still a question mark. But number 1 and 2, retesting, section retesting will be available, is available, and super scoring is available. So these are the things that you want to definitely take advantage. Okay. So the big picture for high school students, you want to plan, prepare, finish SAT, ACT early. So you can definitely focus on school GPA, because GPA, your colleges will look at from 9th grade to 1st semester of a senior year of your GPA. So it matters. That's the most important. And that's something that you cannot escape from. So you want to definitely keep a good GPA. If you get the SAT, ACT out of the way, I think that you will earn a lot of free time. You can push yourself to do more AP classes or more fun extracurricular activity, whatever passions that you have. So I think that is really, really important thing. So let's talk about some ideal stuff. So what is an ideal SAT, ACT planning? So this is something, if you're in 10th graders, you're a sophomore in high school right now, or if you're a parent of a 9th and 10th grader, so listen carefully. So what do I do first? So first, I think you need to find out where you stand. You need to know most students start taking the PSAT in 9th grade. Some students do take Duke TIP in 7th grade. So if you know your PSAT, that will help you know where you stand. So get your PSAT score from 9th or 10th grade. You want to deduct, you want to just to get an estimate idea of what does my PSAT score means. I would probably deduct about 100 points to convert that to ACT or SAT score, because as you know, PSAT is out of what? It's out of 1520, not 1600. So it's easier and a little shorter exam. So just to give you a ballpark idea, you want to maybe deduct 100 points from PSAT score, and then you want to convert that to SAT or ACT. So this is just a conversion chart. You can easily find this in Google. So after converting, number 3 is count the total number of AP classes. So you want to I want to give you some example from my students. So you want to, so this is just an example of what students have taken 9, 10, 11 in the senior years. Everybody's different. Like some college students have mentioned before, this is not everything, but you also want to consider the way that college will look at the AP. It's very important. So the way that they will look at the AP is, what is the maximum number of AP classes that your high school offers? And from there, how many did you take? So that's why it's important to, you want to push yourself to, of course, if it's not, you know, your areas of your interest, you don't want to, like if your areas of interest is computer science and you took a bunch of something that's not related to it, and that's something that I don't recommend. But at the same time, because number matters. So if you want to, you know, push yourself to take more AP classes in the upcoming year, that will be very possible if you finish your SAT, ACT early. So this is just a typical, my students, some of my students have taken before, okay? So that you can kind of, if you're 10th grade right now, and if you have taken human, world, computer science, principal, and bio, whatever, so that's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're at like number 4 or 5, that's good. But again, depends on what kind of school you are in. If you're in a big public school like South Forsyth or Lambert, they have a massive number of AP classes. So you don't want to take, if the total number of AP courses that your school offers is like 16 and you take 5, that doesn't look very good. Colleges will look at, all right, so what kind of a rigor did you take? So that's why, but versus a school where, let's say you go to a small private school and there is only 200 or maybe 100 kids in your grade, and they're the maximum number of AP classes that your school offers is maybe 10, and you took 10 out of 10, that's 100%. So that's how you want to look at it. So, but the bottom line, you want to try to take, you know, most number of AP classes. So that kind of gives you an idea of, okay, how many can I take? How many have I taken so far? And next year, if I finish my SAT, SAT early, that's going to give me some time and energy to take more AP classes. So that's something to consider about. We're going to talk about a typical plan, a typical year plan that a 9th or a 10th grader should do. So right now we're in 2021. As you can see on this chart, the very far left, it says number 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12. That is a month of ACT that is given in a year. So it's given 7 times, as well as SAT. SAT is given in a March, May, June, August, and so forth in the fall season. So that's the month that you want to consider. So this is a year base. So like I said, since there's no penalty for taking SAT, ACT multiple times, but that doesn't mean you're going to take all of this 7 times a SAT, ACT. That's 14 times, and you literally don't have time and energy to take all of this. So you want to plan out and think about, okay, where am I standing right now? And then how can I benchmark? So that's the plan. So we are now in 2021 March already. We're going into April. So let's say, for example, this is an example, guys. So just refer to, you know, I want you to just look at and think about your own PSAT score. So let's say your PSAT is about 1280. If you convert it to ACT, that is approximately 24 to 25. So if I were a 10th grader right now, so I know that in May, there's always AP exams and lots of finals. So season is pretty busy. If you haven't prepared zero SAT, ACT so far, then I wouldn't, you know, stress out so much about giving the April and May exam. So maybe summer, look for opportunity in summer. So everybody's opportunity, their plan is different, but this is for someone who hasn't tried any, or hasn't prepared any SAT, ACT until now. Then you want to definitely maximize the summertime. So June and July, you want to definitely take a full preparations for SAT and ACT. And then guess what? after summer, you're going to be the next grade. You're going to be a junior, right? So I would, for the 10th graders, when you become junior, you're actually going to be, so most juniors, they're actually going to, you'll take a lot of, the most number of AP classes. So you actually do get very busy. However, when are you going to take SAT and ACT? So you want to start taking the first SAT in August if you haven't tried yet. And so I would maybe give it a try and have a benchmark, right? Some kind of benchmark score. Okay, I'm gonna maybe try my best during the summertime, and I'm gonna have a benchmark score from maybe, let's see if I can break maybe 1400 by August. Of course, if you break over 1500 in August, you're done. But most likely you do want to try a couple of times. So September, there is also September 1st is the ACT. Sorry, this is September. They didn't post the exam date for the September yet, but sometime in September there will be ACT. So take SAT in August, take another ACT in September, and compare between the two. You have to find your own preference. I think that's what's important. And have a benchmark score, right? After that, you want to compare the depends on the two different exams. See what is your own preference. Which one can I do better, right? So if you have a better score in ACT, this is my typical students case. Most of my students have performed in better in ACT. Studying SAT definitely helps students to get a better score in ACT, so have that in mind. December, I would take, so if ACT is better, so if that's the case, then you want to take the second after taking the two different exams. Okay, I like ACT better. If that's the case and you want to go with the ACT in December, you want to prepare and have another sort of a benchmark point by December. Okay, I'm going to try to break 32, 33, of course. I'm going to go next year. So if you move on to 2022, you want to give it a try either April or February and be done with it. So I think that way you'll be very busy because 2022, you are in a second semester of junior year. Many of the students do start preparing SAT, ACT in end of 10th grade, and that's very busy. I mean, you can do it, but literally you have a lot of burden. You have 4 AP classes, 5 AP classes. On top of that, you have SAT and ACT. So think about that. And so that's something that you want to consider so the ultimate planning is to prepare early and be done with the SAT, ACT early so you can do, more AP class and more fun activities. So if you're lucky and get done, your SAT, ACT done in a second semester of a junior year, which I actually encourage my students to finish early in 10th grade. But anyway, lots of different scenarios to come up with. And so if this is the case, then you can do in summer, definitely want to try to do something fun. You want to do intern, volunteer works, some activities is something that you are really passionate with. And that's something to really, boost your profile that shows who you are. So that's going to be very, very valuable, as many of the presenters mentioned it before. And you become senior on that August next year. And then early action begins in October all the time. Okay. And so you want to definitely give it a try for the early action. I know some presenter talked about what is the difference between early action, early decision. Okay, so I hope you guys understand that. I want to try. I definitely encourage all the students to give it a try for the early action. Big reason being is that so you have a peace of mind. So if you get denied or if you didn't get exception at the early pool, your admission automatically goes to the regular pool. So you have a peace of mind. So I wouldn't worry about, I didn't get in for the early, but you just want to wait for the regular. So regular begins don't wait until the regular season, right? So regular admission, as you know, begins in, every school is a little different. it's from January to March. So that's the season. And then that's when you apply and you graduate, right? So I want you to, I think knowing when ACT is given and when SAT is given, which exam do I need to take? And the important fact that I mentioned many times is that since there is no penalty, you want to take advantage of that and plan yourself and benchmark each time so that you can finish early. Preparing early and finishing early is the key for high school students. So that's all my message. So let me know if anybody needs help on consulting or planning or help with the SAT. I'll be here. So thank you for the time today, GATS, and I'm going to give it to you, Kritika. Is it going to be the Ram?
Yeah, it's me. Yeah. So that was great, Ms. Jenny. And thank you for insight and detailed process regarding the key points of standardized tests and what high school students must prioritize. And we at GATS appreciate you taking time out to schedule for this. For our final presentations, we have Mr. Ram Nileti from Maths Academy. He'll share with us his experiences and his presentation on the college admission process, putting the puzzle together. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Adi, for the introduction. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you, Uncle.
All right, it's great. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. Okay, first of all, I think what a terrific set of speakers and presentations today. So I really don't have much to add. You guys all did a terrific job, especially the perspective from the college students. I think that's very, very useful. Sometimes we only see certain recommendations that come from either adults or from those who are preparing, but coming from those who are in college, especially Pranav. That's really like the way you presented and your point of view. So is Maya, Shruti, and Watson. That's very useful for, I think, for the students and the parents. It's important to get a balanced view of high school life, and college admission is only one part. I know I'm talking about college admission, but I think it's important to understand that you are preparing for all this while you're in school. So, so keep that high school life together as well. So I'll be very brief. I realize it's already 4:51 p.m. Close to 5. So I will keep it brief, and because most of it is already covered. So I'll leave some time for Q&A. So how do we put this puzzle together? Now, I think most of the pieces are already covered, but some presenters talked about some of you, if you're a parent here and you went to college in a different country like India, or if you're a student, talk to your parents. In India, for example, or many other countries, it's very linear to get into college. If you want to go for a particular major, you write a particular entrance, and that's all that matters. Nothing else matters. Now, the whole holistic approach to admission requires multiple dimensions: grades, course rigor, SAT, ACT, extracurricular activities, leadership activities, personal essays, future recommendations, and along with the admission, of course, scholarships are equally important. So these are all the pieces of the puzzle, and I think today's presenters talked about each of these. And there is often I get the question, is there a formula? Because all these are there, is there any weightages for each of these? No, there is no formula, and every student's journey is independent and individual. And it's important that I think, in spite of, with all these variables, don't forget what is the most important. What really interests you? It is important that as a student, you know yourself. And I think Pranav put it aptly. So you got to and this is not easy, right? It's easy to study a subject. It's not easy to understand yourself. I think take the time to see what your passions are, what your interests are, where do you want to go. And if you don't know exactly what major you want to pursue, that's okay. Colleges in this country give you the freedom to choose it even after you go to college, right? After until the first couple of years. If you already know, that is great. If you already know, that is great. But you may not know the major, but you may still know set of interests. And the interest doesn't have to be one. I think someone, either Maya Shruti put it, if you want to pursue, let's say, computer science, it's not that you only push yourself on computer science. You can certainly follow other interests as well. You don't need to have that long spike. It's okay to be well-rounded, but it's okay not if you're not, if you're very clear about what you want. So the important thing is know yourself and know how to balance. Now, there are certain basics you need to cover, right? So I think the number one factor, if you just want to know what is the number one factor, is it is grade, along with the course rigor. The test preps are important. They're optional, they're not going away. So it's important to get that, but grades probably are the number one factor, along with the course rigor. But you need to balance between the two, right? When you say course rigor, it's important to challenge yourself, right? But challenge yourself with some of your interests. And you can take a combination of APs, or if you happen to be in IB school, then following the IB program there, honors and non-level courses. But also be realistic yourself. Be realistic about what courses you want to take. You want to challenge yourself and take as many as possible, but don't kill yourself. You have a life. And high school is probably one of the most stressful times for any student's career. In fact, many college students tell that the high school was probably more stressful than during the college. So it's important to balance, and if you enjoy the process, if you take some courses that you really like, that make the journey more worthwhile. And so lastly, if you live in Georgia, I think one of the presenters presented it as well. You need 23 credits to be taken, generally 4 in math, 4 in English. Science, 3 sufficient. Many students take 4 if you want to go into sciences. Social studies, foreign language, 2 are sufficient, but if you're applying for a selective college, they like to see 4 foreign language courses, and then CTAE, PE, art, special programs altogether. So those are the minimum requirements to be in Georgia, but within that you can pursue, you have a lot of freedom in which courses you take. Within math program, if you're already ahead, there are opportunity to take AP classes, and even if you finish all the AP courses available, there are great Georgia Tech programs, virtual programs that you can take in the junior or senior year. If you don't, that is okay. If you're just following on level path, follow that path. Not every student is unique. Same in each subject, there are a variety of options available, and choose wisely. So another note on APs, I think another presenter talked about it as well. Not all colleges consider all APs from a credit perspective, and so again, you want to have a challenging course, but just don't take for the sake of just taking them, right? Understand which ones align more to your interests and which colleges you might likely to apply. It is always, obviously it's used by colleges as a pseudo indicator for the course rigor. That's why we are talking about it. But know yourself. You can certainly talk to your school counselor, parents, and you can certainly consult a professional. Typically each year around the spring, you select the next year courses. At the time, look at what you're taking this year, what you are enjoying, what you are not enjoying, what are some of your interests, and accordingly select for next year. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to help any of you. My contacts are at the end. Feel free to reach out to me. Okay. Next. So I don't need to talk much about SAT, ACT. Several presenters talked about, Ms. Kim talked about. So some of the factors that you would consider, which one, SAT or ACT, each student is unique. Choose something that better suits you. It's okay to take one of each, and then even a practice test or a real test. If anyone is looking at much more detailed view of SAT or ACT, I do separate webinars focused on that, explaining, getting more, dwelling into an hour and a half presentation on that. Some coming up in April. You have my contact number over there, or if you go to our website, you will see the upcoming webinars. Personal essays are extremely important. I think several talked about. This is where you get an opportunity to present yourself on who you really are. A lot of reminding is just data points, and to look at from an admissions officer's viewpoint, they are going application after application up, and they all look just number jumble, right? But it is really the essay that can stand out, and this can help the admission officer really understand who you are. And so take the time. Probably the summer after junior year is a good time to start reflecting on, because it's easy to talk, write an essay about Abraham Lincoln or Gandhi. It's much more difficult to write about yourself. And but it is a great opportunity. And everything else being equal, this could be the differentiator. But it's also a great opportunity to know about yourself. Often we don't think about ourselves. And you don't need to just take for one topic. It requires brainstorming. This is where you may want to brainstorm with someone. It could be your parent or an older sibling or a professional, and see which topic or a combination of topics. How do you want to put your story together? It's very critical, and give it enough time to do it the right way. A last note on scholarships. You don't want to end up with a lot of debt. There are a lot of scholarships available. Now, a majority of the scholarships in this country are what are known as need-based scholarships. So they depend on the family's income and assets. But there are also many need-blind scholarships. In other words, merit scholarships. Georgia is actually, if you are from Georgia, you're fortunate. But if you're not, right? If you're some of you maybe from other states, many states have for in-state public universities, there are great scholarship programs. Like in Georgia, it is Hope and Zell Miller scholarships. There's based on the NMSQT, the 11th grade PSAT scholarships are available. There's some scholarships which are based on SAT or ACT, and many specific universities have endowment-based scholarships, and there are a number of private scholarships available. The more you research about it, and the more you apply, the more you are likely to get the scholarships. And they can be, you can have multiple scholarships. Each of them may be small, but put together they could cover, might be able to cover a substantial part of it. So I'm not going to bore anyone anymore. It's we're 2 minutes past 5. So at this point, I'll pause. You have my contacts here if you want to contact me either by email or phone number, or you can visit the website to see my upcoming webinars, justmathsacademy.com. So back to Kritika and the MCs.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Yalaki. The topic you discussed was extremely helpful. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for this.
Welcome.
So thank you all for listening. And this calls for the end of our guest speakers. But don't worry, we have one more section, which is the Q&A session. So if you have any questions now, or if you had any throughout the presentation, you can still keep them coming in through the Google Docs form. And right now we will take some time to answer a couple that we have gotten so far. Okay, so I'll start off by reading the first few. And to our presenters or our guest speakers, if this relates to your topic or anything you're familiar on or whatever you're expert on, feel free to chime in and answer them. So our first question was, does your transcript show middle school information as well as high school information?
I can take this. The high school transcript would only show like the language and math part, and I think it also shows physical science, but if someone else wants to like confirm that.
Okay, so if you get high school credits in middle school, it'll show up on your transcript. Usually it doesn't affect your GPA, but it'll just show what grade you got and the course you took. But if you didn't take any high school courses in middle school, then it wouldn't show up on your transcript.
Thank you so much. The next question is directed towards Mr. Ramprakash, and it says, could you please explain what going to a less competitive school means? I think they're referring to one of your bullet points on your presentation.
Sorry, could you repeat that real quick?
They were asking what you could, if you could like expand upon the point when you wrote going to a less competitive school, high school, could help your admission maybe.
I see. To be honest, that option isn't something that's really available to a lot of us, like Indian Americans and that live where we live and coming in Alpharetta. I just included that point, and I honestly think perhaps Mr. Yaletti or Ms. Kim could elaborate more on that. But I included that point because I went to Georgia Tech with a lot of students, a lot of friends of mine who came from urban and rural schools more so. You know, they didn't have to have the best grades, best standardized test scores to gain admission. And it's just that, you know, if you're going to schools like Northview and South Forsyth, Lambert, where there are going to be a lot of competitive students just like y'all, and it's harder for, you know, your talents to come through that way. That's all I meant by that.
I can add more to that, Watson. So it is true that if you go to a less competitive high school, you are more likely to stand out. Your application is more likely to stand out. And that's backed by data. But at the same time, I would not recommend shifting from where you are to a less competitive school just because that's a college factor. Because see, I think some of the, Watson as well as some of the others, Pranav and other alluded to. High school is not just about getting college admission. High school is an important 4 years, important part of your life, right? So don't look at everything that you do in high school from a college admission viewpoint. It is an important consideration, absolutely, no doubt, but high school is also important. And so many students thrive when they are in an environment where they're challenged, right? So it depends on you as well. So if you go to another environment where you don't have the same options available, you're not challenged, your high school experience may not be the same. So, and also colleges, again, this part is not backed by data, but colleges are smart. They can probably figure out if you just shifted for that purpose, right? So admission officer, ultimately they're human beings, right? They can look at it and see. So while what Watson said is factual, I wouldn't recommend moving just for that reason. And it's also socioeconomic backgrounds, right? Many reasons why certain schools have less SAT averages or grades are because of the specific socioeconomic backgrounds. So they will also look at the socioeconomic background. So just so differentiate between the cause and effect, right? So it is a factual statement, but not necessarily a cue to pursue. Hope that helps answer the question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Just to add one quick thing before we move on to a different topic. So colleges, admission standpoint, they're not going to compare Lambert versus a small school. They're going to look at each school as a different entity. They think that opportunity that all of you guys will have is a different. So they will definitely not compare Lambert versus some school where there's only 100 schools. So that's something that you wouldn't have to worry about. What you have to do, or you have to concern is that you have to just do your best at where you stand, from where you stand. So that's what it matters.
Miss Kim, I had a concern about that because doesn't Georgia Tech offer guaranteed admission for anyone who's a valedictorian, regardless if it's a competitive high school or not? So that means that they are comparing it, right?
That's a technical question. I'm not a admission officer from Georgia Tech, so that is still a question mark. It is a very good question, but I think that that's an extreme level where it says it's a guarantee. Even if you're guaranteed valedictorian, many of my students are valedictorian, but that doesn't mean they're guaranteed to some school, because like many of the they're looking for many different aspects. So I think that's something that I cannot answer. But definitely they're going to look at each school as an individually different entity for sure.
Okay, I was just wondering because that's what I heard about Tech. Maybe not the other schools, but I heard like Tech does guaranteed admission for like valedictorians, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a question mark. I don't know if Pranav, do you have any information about that?
Yeah, so no, you're right about that. I think they still do that. But the way I interpret that is actually they're not comparing between schools, right? Because if the valedictorian and the SAL of every like Georgia high school get automatic admission, then that's local to each school, right? Like it's the two best people from each school get automatic admission. So like if I'm the valedictorian of South Forsyth, I'm going to get in. But if I'm the valedictorian of a school elsewhere in Georgia that's not as competitive, I'm also going to get in. So if anything, I think your point is right, but I think it's illustrative of the fact that comparisons aren't being made between schools.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yep.
Sanjana, I just wanted to add one thing real quick. Just going off what Mr. Yaletti said about the socioeconomic background, I was wondering whether to even include that bullet point in my slide or not, because to be honest, I think that there's more of an added benefit by going to the schools that y'all already do. The communities that we live in have the highest median incomes in the entire state. And, with that comes, just the people that you mingle with, the standards that y'all set for yourselves, the money that you can pay for SAT, tutoring and all that kinds of stuff. So, I probably should have left that off there. That's all I had to say.
No, that's okay, Watson. I think that what you mentioned is a factual statement. You just one needs to just interpret it correctly. So you don't want to move to the school just for because it gives you better chances of voting. Because high school is not just about college admission, and you need to make sure you're in an environment where you'll thrive.
Yeah, and just one more thing about the Hope and Zell Miller scholarships. I believe they are merit-based scholarships and not need-based scholarships. And you can see that, like at Georgia Tech, I think over 70% of newly admitted students actually come in with one of those scholarships, which is amazing. It's one of the best in the country. But then you look at a student like a university down south, like Albany State, you'll see that like 10% get in on that scholarship. And if you see which students are actually getting in with those scholarships, because they're merit-based, it's about how well your grades are, not how much money your parents make. Oftentimes those kids are coming from the wealthiest neighborhoods as well, like Alpharetta and Cumming and Johns Creek and so forth. So it's just another thing I wanted to point out.
Thank you guys so much for that in-depth conversation. So we actually, from this attendee, we have a couple of questions. I think we can take them one by one. When is the earliest you can take the SAT and ACT for colleges to accept it? And is early decision or regular decision preferred? And what is weighted GPA? I can repeat any of those if you need to. or one
I
by one?
I can take a stab at those questions. So when is the earliest you could take SAT or ACT? So for college admission purposes, just technically, you can take any time you are in high school, 9th grade and up. Now, you could take in 7th or 8th grade for some of the talent identification programs such as Duke Tape, although Duke Tape is on pause right now, or Johns Hopkins CTY, etc. But they do not count towards college admission. Only what you take in the high school counts towards college admission. So earliest is 9th grade. It doesn't mean that every student should take in 9th grade, but it really depends on the student. So if somebody is really good in math and English and they can knock off the summer after 9th grade, you're done. But you can take a first time maybe after 9th grade summer, and then depending on your score, you can take one more after 10th. But typically the last time you want to take is 11th grade, end of 11th grade, or the summer after 11th grade maybe, because then I lead to the next question. The college admission process really you do in the fall and winter of the 12th grade senior year. So the early decisions and early admissions, you might start applying as soon as October and November. So you really don't have a lot of time for SAT and ACT during the 12th grade. You would want to finish it by 11th grade, although technically you have a little bit of time. You can still take in August or September if you're or if you're not doing early decision, early action, you can even take up to September and October. So the next question, I believe, Sanjana, is about the difference between early decision, early action, and the regular admission.
Yes, they were asking which one is preferred, early decision or regular.
There is really not, it's not about the preference, it's about, so first let's differentiate between early decision versus early action. Early decision is a binding decision, meaning you apply only for one college for early decision, because if you get it, you got to go there. Early action is non-binding. You can apply for as many as you wish, and it's not binding. You can go to either of them. So early action is useful if you know where you want to go, and so you are applying early, and there is generally a little less competition because not every student is applying for that. Whereas general application, there will be a lot more applicants. But early decision, you got to be a lot more careful.
Sorry to cut you. So it's not about college's preference. It's about, are you ready for early or not, right? Like I said before during my presentation, if you're ready to submit your application for early, that's good for you. That's better, because if you are not, if you submit your application for early and you don't have to worry, if you didn't get in, if you didn't get accepted for the early, your application will automatically go into the regular pool. So you have a peace of mind. So I think it would be practical and ideal if you get it ready for early. I think it's better for you. College is not going to prefer, they're not going to care if you go for early or regular. So it's all about, are you ready or not?
Miss Jenny, add on to that. I don't know how much this is true, but I've heard that if you apply to early decision, you can show colleges that you are actually committing to them and you actually want to go there. I don't know how much that's true.
Right, decision, that's what the decision is. Decision means that you, let's say you, so you definitely want to pick one absolutely number one dream school for decision, because if you get in, you have to go. If you decide not to go, let's say you got in Yale and you decide not to go, it's binding. There is a financial penalty. So that's what the decision is. Early action, there is a choice. Let's say you apply 4 different colleges for early action. You can pick and choose, and they all accept you. You can pick and choose. There is no financial obligation. Decision means there is always financial obligation. So that's something that you have to
just a question around how much is the financial penalty if you don't do it?
I think every school is different. I think it's a certain percentage. I don't know and every college is different. Is that right, Pranav?
Yeah, I should say I wouldn't think about it in terms of incurring the penalty. Like, let's just assume for like everyone's sake that early decision means you're bound to it. Like, I've never heard of anyone like skipping out on the commitment. And some people have extenuating issues, but usually the impression is like, if you apply ED and you get in, you're gonna go there. I don't even know, like, there's probably something legal behind it too, if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you want to think about whether is it absolutely my number one college, and if it comes, I would go there. But also you want to look at the fees there before applying, right? If it is a decision, because can I afford this, right? So you do want to consider carefully, and you just apply for one.
Yeah, I heard that like. Yeah, sorry. I heard that like you should only apply for like early decision if you like really, really want to go there. Like if you truly want to go there, and like not just do it for like prestige, or like show them like oh yeah, I want to go to a top tier school, so like I'm just gonna apply for early decision so I might have higher chances to like show off. It should just be like if you truly want to go there, you should apply, right?
Right, it has to be genuinely my dream school. That has to be a decision school. So it like, if you get in, you have to be ready to go in.
Right.
So that's the decision.
Yeah, that's why I never applied for any early decision. I only applied for early action. Yeah.
Good. Good.
Sanjana, go to the next question.
Yes, actually, we're going to be wrapping it up here, I think. We have a couple more, but we will get back to you guys through email possibly, because this has been running a long time, so I think a lot of people are trying to wrap it up.
Okay.
But yes, I'll pass it on to Sid to introduce our next person. Thank you guys so much for answering the questions. We have a couple more. Don't worry if you did submit any questions, we'll make sure to answer them. And as stated before, we might upload a doc with them answered on our Facebook page. So you will be able to see them there.
Awesome.
Sid, can you please share your screen?
Yeah, now it's time for our last presentation.
Yeah. So we welcome Mr. Swaminathan Annamlai. He's our GATS president. Swami, please join us to give us a thank you note.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. And vanakkam to, yeah. Hi, Ram. It's good to see you again, my friend. Thank you for doing this for GATS every year, and special thanks to Jenny, Kim as well. I don't know. I mean, I've been listening for like 2.5 hours. Lots of information, and the thing which I want to appreciate, like more than thank you, right? I mean, I want to say this to the kids, right? I mean, this is what is called giving back to the community, right? You're spending your precious time, and in educating your next, like your friends, So I'm kind of more thrilled to say that you guys are doing a great job in giving back to the community. And one other important person I want to thank at this point of time is Kritika. Thank you, Kritika. You have built a great team of volunteers. I've seen these kids work with you in other tutoring programs 4 days in a week. Oh my God! I mean, that's really an amazing task. You built a great team. Kritika, keep it going, right? So it's, I mean, more than mentoring and everything. We want to set as a GATS, we want to set the platform for our kids to learn more. I mean, they generate a lot of interpersonal skills in this activities. You see, right? I mean, we have been last 2 years since 2019. We have been focusing more on the youth. If you see this year, out of like 25 flyers which has come in, 23 would have been the youth. So helping out with that, and they are getting involved in the mid-share activities and the youth band. And to give more importance to the youth, we this year you have seen Watson, right? So he's been our youth ambassador. We introduced this year. So I see a lot of other kids there. Every year one person takes up this. Thank you, Watson. You did a great job. And he has brought in a lot of people. I mean, last week he did a session with like training, giving knowledge to the students in India to how to come to US with a visa and college and everything. So this week he's doing for this week. So thanks, Watson and his team. And we got, as you know, as he has given the presentation, that we got the honor of we have been identified to give the President Volunteer Award. This was possible just because of you guys, because you guys have put a lot of time on this, tutoring every week. So these hours will definitely count you and helps you in your career as well. So we have more plans for this youth. And I'll take another 10 seconds for the youth for this coming year. We have the Innovation Hub and we are going to work on the CreateX platform, which is Georgia Tech's innovation, thing. So we'll be collaborating and we'll be working, for our kids. So more to come. Thank you. I have a big list of names to go through. Thank you, kids. I really enjoyed, and thank you what all you're doing for the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Swami. Yeah, and as Swami said, I really want to thank each and everyone who participated in this session and in putting together this great information. Sorry that we did run over time, but I still see many of you still sticking around and gathering all the information. Thank you so much. And yes, sorry, I'm not listing all the names right now, but definitely we'll send the thank you note in the newsletter as well. I hope you all enjoyed the session, and just wanted to let you guys know we have another session coming up next week. It is for the middle schoolers. Please do join the session. You'll find lots of great information there as well. So yeah. So that's all. We come with this. We can go ahead and end the presentation. And those of you who presented, please stay online. We'll just take a quick group picture. Okay. Thank you, guys. Mahi, we can stop YouTube live.
Thank you, Auntie, for this wonderful opportunity and letting me present, Auntie. And thank you. Thank you,
We have to
Sonia.
thank GATS, all of us. I mean, GATS gave you guys the opportunity. So, yeah, and I just want to say, Ms. Kim and Mr. LAT, very sorry. The time was going on and I was really feeling bad that.
No problem.
But it was,
no problem.
Thank you so much for being so patient with us. And thanks to all the guest speakers. I know how busy you guys are with your college routine and all. And in spite of that, you guys took time for us to share your knowledge and share your story. It was really inspirational for, I'm not a college student, but definitely it was very inspiring for me. I'm going to share this with my son. I believe he was also watching this. So great stories. I think we'll do more of this in shorter, time limit instead of cramming everything, because each and every one of you had tons of information, and it's not really fair to cram you guys all in just 2 hours. So definitely we'll spread it out and we'll do more sessions. Okay.
Very
yeah,
good.
Mahi, we can stop YouTube live. Yeah, and if the presenters can just stay behind, we can probably take a group picture. Mahi, if you don't mind, can you please turn your camera on? Sanskriti, Anu, Niharika.
Sorry, Auntie, yeah.
Okay.
I did wanted to say, Kritika, when I joined in,
YouTube live is still going on.
I was very excited to see my students.
I don't know whether
So Kritika, if you are a presenter, I think you can disconnect the YouTube live.
Oh, is it?
Uncle, Swami Uncle, I think Mahi Uncle is the host, so I don't think we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, just 1 minute at least. I'll take a quick
Yeah, that's
screen.
fine. Take the picture, Kritika. That's fine. Yeah.
What's that? I'm sorry.
No. Take a group picture. That's fine. We'll edit the video. That's fine.
Okay. I'll just take one more. I think. Okay, ready, guys? I'm just going to take the picture now. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all for joining and being so patient. I know we said only 2 hours, but tons of thanks. I don't know. I don't have words to thank you all for your patience. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, GATS
Thank
team.
you.
Terrific job. Thank you, GATS team.
Bye,
Thanks,
team.
Kritika.
Bye, thank you. Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you for your time too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Hey, admin team, I really want to talk to you guys, but this YouTube live is going on. Probably we should
I just close the meeting and then open another one.
Auntie, you can give us a group call, Auntie, right now. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Yeah, but great job, guys. You all did awesome. Maybe they'll cut this off when they are doing the editing, right? They might cut this off, I think. But I mean, I have to tell you,
You don't
all,
need us, right? I will drop off.
thank you so
Bye,
much, Sindel.
Uncle.
Sorry,